And we're live. Hello and welcome
Legends of Tabletop.
I forgot to mute
that.
Can you mute other people on stream?
Yeah, I can. I just always forget. All right, take two. Hello and welcome to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. We're getting ready to jump into our second playtest of COREthulhu. We're going to be playing the Bellyache heard round the world, some of the Call of Cthulhu scenario. We're just using those by default because it's sort of kind of same. At some point, one of us will have to write something specifically sort of more geared towards core, but God, until this gets done, it's just whatever. So, Kevin's going to run this time, so I'm going to kick it over to him, and he can kind of give us a setup, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. So as John said, I gave the name Bellyache heard around the world. I'm going to do a quick introduction, kind of setting where you're at and where we're going to go from, and then after that, I'll kick it over to everybody to introduce their characters, and then if those characters, anything they want to let everyone else know about their character, and then we'll talk about if there's any kind of relationships between the characters. So the year is 1925, and you are in Charlottesville, Virginia, home of the University of Virginia. At the end of the spring training, the New York Yankees were touring southern cities, making their way back north. They would play exhibition games in cities along the route. In Asheville, North Carolina, Babe Ruth's hard living finally caught up with them. The winding tracks through the Smoky Mountains from Chattanooga took their toll and caused Ruth to collapse on the train platform. If not for the quick reactions of catcher Steve O'Neill, Ruth would have landed headfirst on the marble floor. The team decided that the Babe should head north to New York for recuperation, followed along with New York scout Harry Higgins, with the next stop being outside the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. The Babe's feeling a bit worse for wear, but he also kind of feels like he's away from the rest of the team and management, and he doesn't want that to kind of stop the lifestyle he's used to and building up the legend around him. So he'll be stopping at in Charlottesville, Virginia, as I said, university town, and he'll be looking for some locals to show him around and show him a good time. So let's go over to the characters. We'll start with Jesse. What's your character?
My character is Joesephine Herindon. He is a rich, spoiled kid whose dad was an industry type person who made a lot of money fast. And now he's basically just living off that wealth.
All right, next, let's go to John.
I was muted. I'm going to be reprising my role as Vinny DeCarlo. He is a 2-bit criminal. He ran afoul of some folks up in the New York area, so like he went down a little further south to kind of let things blow over a little bit and maybe not get capped, you know?
Is that Jersey accent?
No, that's from fucking Brooklyn. What are you talking about? Nobody in Jersey sounds like this. Unless maybe you're up on like the Oranges. Sometimes you get a lot of crossover with the Oranges up there.
All right, Kurt.
I will be playing Dr. Frederick Feldman. I am a used to be world known, well, not, let's say, widely regarded doctor that was pretty well known and then botched a surgery on the mayor of a certain town that he was living in, and didn't lose his license, but almost did, and then just kind of his life kind of tumbled from there, and now he's kind of this doctor for hire that kind of does things kind of below board. So
all right, it sounds good. So we chatted a little bit. The relationships between the three characters, do we want to have that they know each other, or so as I said, you're going to be at the train station. There's obviously going to be a lot of people there. Babe Ruth's coming to town. So it's not like we won't be able to, to get everybody together. I think everybody in Charlottesville is actually going to see. But did you guys want to have any? Do you guys want to be known to each other prior to showing up at the train station?
I mean, I think it probably makes it easier, right? Just for ease of story and gameplay.
Okay.
Since the doctor's kind of the shady, and Vinny is also shady, that maybe they, maybe nobody's like super close. Like I don't feel like Vinny probably knows Joe, but we both know Frederick. So like maybe we just all happen to show up together and be like, oh hey, fuck, you're here too. No shit.
Yeah, it makes sense that you wouldn't have been calling each other saying, hey, let's go down. Everybody's just going to be there anyway. So the fact that then maybe if you guys all see each other in a crowd and kind of just bundle up or, bunch up together, that would probably be, that would make sense. All right. So train pulls into the station. Charlottesville is a university town and it is kind of a bit of a tourist destination. So there'll be lots of locals, students, people. So it is spring. I don't know how touristy it would be during that time of the year, but there are quite a few people going in and out, not just locals. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement with the great man stopping into the city, so everybody wants to make sure they can get up close, whether it's just to take a glimpse at him, grab his attention for their own means, maybe just to give him a wave, get an autograph. So the train pulls in, hear lots of cheering, lots of waving, and then the door to the first class carriage opens, and you'll see Ruth kind of stepping down, and next to him will be a man kind of wearing just fedora, gray suit, gray tie, walking down to him. Ruth will come down to the bottom of the steps off the carriage, look out, see everybody screaming and shouting. And then he'll start waving, and then in a real booming voice, he'll shout, "It's great to be here, fellas. Who can show me where to go to get some good grub and something to wet my whistle?" And he'll start looking around, and the man next to him will kind of step forward and kind of look through to try to keep some of the people away. Ruth will, people, if handing out papers and pencils to Ruth, he'll grab a few and sign. Looking around at the different people, and the person walking with them will kind of look over to you guys and see you guys talking to each other a little bit. He's still probably about 20 feet away or so. So if you see that and you see him kind of directing Ruth towards you, what do you guys feel about that?
Hey, is he fucking coming over here? I got to see him, at the stadium up, before, because I'm from Brooklyn originally, right? So like, this is like, did you bring something to sign? He like starts patting his pockets, right?
Joe will actually realize that there's now like attention being gathered to them, and he'll just say, "No, get away," and he'll. I need to practice a Southern accent, man. That wasn't even close. That was British. This isn't good. And he'll kind of like put a tiny bit of distance as much as he can between to like look like I'm not dealing with these lower people.
The riffraff.
Yep. And he'll just kind of give like a little wave. Be like, pardon me, Mr. Ruth, over here.
Okay, is Frederick doing anything, or is he
even though he's talking, kind of by Joe and Vinny and stuff like that, he kind of turns to somebody that's kind of next to him, and he goes, "Oh, American baseball players. I do like them so much. Over where I live, shit. Okay, terrible." So let me start again.
Hey, better than mine.
Yeah, all right. It's funny because you're like, I'm doing an English accent. I'm like, no, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, look at it! Really is him, Mr. Ruth. Oh, It's a real life baseball player. I've never thought in my whole life I would ever meet such a person. Boy, he's quite rotund. I thought these lads were have a little more strength in them, but I suppose he probably puts the poundage into the ball, and I appreciate that.
So, Ruth will see you guys kind of talking to each other, and he'll hear Joe kind of motion him over. He'll talk to the man walking next to him and kind of head over in your guys' direction. Why don't Dr. Feldman? Why don't you make a medicine roll? And the difficulty level is going to be, you're a doctor, and as you said, Ruth is a bit rotund, so we'll make it an easy difficult level for a medicine roll.
Okay. And what is that through? I can't remember.
It's
Easy is 2, isn't it?
What's that?
Easy is 2, isn't it?
Yeah, easy is 2. Oh, sorry, I didn't say that. Yeah, easy is 2. My fault.
I meant what
Medicine is
So
brains.
medicine's going to be
Is that
brains.
Okay.
Yeah, so
sorry.
you'll roll the number of dice that you have.
Yep.
Okay.
I just couldn't remember what medicine. It's not skill, but whatever it is.
yeah, it's brains.
Yep. Actually, that's a 7.
Okay, so
Nice.
that's more. That's a yes, and you've exceeded more than 1. So obviously, this would be. I think you get you
Experience
can
point.
mark this down. Yeah, exactly. So you'll look over to Ruth and see that he looks a bit pale. I was going to say he looks a bit gaunter than usual, but you can't. That's really not saying much, especially in this time. I guess spring training was really used to go sweat off everything that you'd picked up over the winter and the off season. So it wasn't really a time for practicing or honing your skills. It was more about getting in shape, and especially for Ruth, getting in some semblance of shape. But you can tell that obviously he's a bit pale. He's lost a bit of weight, but just from the booming voice and how he's coming over to you guys, it doesn't look like it's anything affecting him too much. There's not any kind of restrictive. And obviously what Ruth said is he wants to go out and have some fun. So it doesn't look like whatever happened to him on the way up through Chattanooga seems to be affecting him too much other than just visibly a little bit in his face and a shirt being a bit baggier than normal.
I would like to, as he's sort of walking up to us, people are like pushing and crowding around. I would like to find somebody that's got a baseball and then pickpocket them, kind of like, move around, kind of shuffle through and kind of like bump somebody and snatch the baseball. So I have something to get him the sign.
I would say this is probably not to stay in that same zone, but this would probably be an easy 2. I think everybody's kind of distracted at the moment. Right. So I would say that's a difficulty level 2.
Oof, it's a good thing. So that'll be a 5 total.
Okay. So, because you had the +2 on the pickpocketing.
+2, yep.
Okay, so that's a yes and. Oh, sorry, Kurt, I forgot the and part of that.
Yeah.
So let's do Kurt real quick with the and then we'll get back to you, John. So obviously, Dr. Feldman sees Ruth and kind of guesses that, he's been through something medically, but what? I'm sorry, and something positive. Did we say positive? The and is up to the GM, or is the and up to the player?
Either both. If some if Jesse had this would be really cool and throw it out. Any of that stuff's
okay. Well, I think of that.
Table.
Kurt, do you think of any? Can you think of anything for your and?
We don't kill him.
Let's just say, and it doesn't seem. He doesn't seem as bad off as he looks.
It may be, obviously. So what Ruth was shouting out is he's looking to find some people to go and have a good time. Mm-hmm. So maybe the and is also on your conscience a bit. if you do get swept up in the wake of Ruth and go out with them, you're not going to have that much of a guilty conscience if he goes out and starts, drinking 30 beers and eating, 15 chickens, because he doesn't seem to be in a position where that would impact him too much. So you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't feel too bad being part of the party of the babe going through town and having a good time.
Yeah, I'm not his doctor, so anything that happens to him, I'm not responsible. So,
or if something does happen, you're a doctor and you're there. And this is Babe Ruth, right?
And then, exactly. I saved the day. Come on now.
Okay, so over to Vinny. So Vinny. So
we'll say. I mean, you want to say yes? I find somebody that has a ball, and I'm able to get it, and they don't know it. I mean, pretty simple, pretty straightforward, right? Like.
Yes. So you got the ball, and it actually has Lou Gehrig's signature on it already. So you're just adding to.
There you go. Nice.
I was gonna say, and you get the hat, the Yankee hat, out of their back pocket too, and you throw it on. Like all of a sudden, you're the biggest fan ever.
Let's just put it this way: even though you said you're from Brooklyn, you've got the New York accent, so that's going to draw.
Yeah.
I think Ruth's probably thinking, "Well, I got an easy mark right there, right? He's got the accent. He's got to be on my side anyway." So, okay, so Ruth will come over and see you guys. He'll see Vinny holding the baseball, kind of holding out to him. Ruth will have a big smile on his face, kind of take the baseball, flip it around a bit, and see Gehrig's name on there. He'll stick his hand out, not super officiously, but stick his hand out, and the person next to him, he'll say, "Harry, give me a pen." Yeah, do they have pens in 25? I'm assuming they have pens, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Big feather quill. So the guy he shouts is Harry will hand him a pen. Ruth will flip the ball over and see Gehrig's name. He'll put his name next to Gehrig's name. He looked for a minute whether he was going to write it on the top. He was definitely not going to write it under, but he'll sign his name. He'll sign his name right next to Gehrig's name and says, "Telling you, fella, you better hold on to this ball. It may be worth a lot in the future. I have a good feeling for what we've got coming together." And hand you back the ball.
This is the best. Thank you, Mr. Ruth. Like this is amazing. I'm from Brooklyn. I've seen you. Like this is just great. Oh, thank you so much.
Brooklyn's not a far trolley ride over to the Bronx. Maybe we can turn you over to becoming more of a Yankees fan than the Dodgers fan. Hey, Harry? And you'll see the man Harry next to him just kind of giggle and smirk at him. So he'll take all three of you in, because I'm assuming Joe's kind of maybe in the middle of you guys. And he saw, obviously Ruth saw you talking before. He'll look over and say, "This guy next to me in the hat's Harry Higgins. He's one of our top scouts. He didn't have anything involved with bringing me to the Yankees. That was that old trade from the Red Sox." And you'll hear Higgins under his breath saying, "Yeah, I can see that not having any good effect for the Red Sox. That was probably a really bad move on their part.
They ain't going to win a World Series for forever. I'll tell you that right now."
Ruth will look over to Vinny and wink and say, "That's what they get for getting rid of the Bambino. Hey, put a curse on them."
Salt and the SWAT.
And Higgins will start laughing a bit when he hears that. And Ruth will say, "Yeah, Harry was involved in bringing some of the other people together. Some of the top guys in our lineup, like Tony Lazzari and Mark Koenig. He scouted them and brought them on. He's a really good guy to have around, and he's a really good friend of mine." So you'll see that Higgins will look over to you guys and say, obviously Mr. Ruth is in town to recuperate a bit. And when he says recuperate, he kind of slows and drags the word out a little bit. I'm here to make sure he doesn't get in too much trouble. And when Higgins says that, Ruth says, "I know how to take care of myself, and I've got you here to keep an eye to make sure it doesn't get too out of control, and to make sure that that wallet of yours is open to anybody who needs it wherever we go." And then he'll start laughing, and Higgins will look back to you guys and say, "Can I assume that the three of you are locals to this area?"
Why, yes, I am indeed. We actually own a little establishment just a few blocks away from here.
And then when you say that, Ruth will say establishment as in establishment for some food and drink, or another kind of establishment?
Of course we would have food and plenty of sweet tea. And he kind of gives Ruth a little bit of a wink.
Okay, so you do give him a bit of wink, because as soon as you said sweet tea before the wink, Ruth's face kind of falls a bit. He doesn't look too excited, but once he saw the wink,
away.
Yeah, exactly.
Next, that was a fun campaign.
Move down the line. Okay, so what I'm going to do, Jesse, is I don't mean to horn in on your storytelling, but I had a name of a place, and I can't let this go because it was too good.
Give it.
So let's say the name of your place is called the Jake Walk, and underneath, so JAKEWALK, the Jake Walk, and and under the sign, best cold cuts in town, underneath. So why don't you? Yeah, so it's called the Jake Walk. I'm trying to think what's a quick and easy. Well, actually, no. So I guess since it is your or your family's establishment, so why don't all three of you? Actually, no, Jesse wouldn't have to, because Jesse would know. So why don't Vinny and Dr. Feldman, I guess, roll a brains when you hear the name Jake Walk.
I got a 5.
Okay, and we would say that would be a DL3 challenging. So you've got a 5.
I don't know shit. I got a 2.
And that would be a miss by
no
1. No but. Okay, so let's go with Vinny first. So when you hear the term Jake Walk, you kind of know just from your past experience in the time that you're in. Jake is actually a nickname for Jamaican ginger, and it was used by bootleggers as kind of a way around prohibition. So heavy consumption of Jake. So it's kind of like a ginger beer kind of thing. Heavy consumption of Jake affected the muscles in a person's feet, causing them to have a high step walking gait. So hence the Jake Walk. So, and actually ginger beer is actually pretty popular over here still at this time. So it is a very low alcohol thing, hence why everybody has to keep drinking lots of it. So I think the name for Joe, either for Joe's establishment or Joe's family's establishment, it's kind of like a subtle sly joke for the name, but that's what the Jake Walk is. So you get a yes and, I think, yes. So Vinny has a yes and.
Maybe I've been there before. I'm trying to think of what a good end would be.
I think that one makes sense.
Well, let's say maybe you've been there before because maybe you had a connection for importing some Jamaican ginger, and you may not be.
I knew a guy who knew a guy.
Yeah, and maybe it was more of a business relationship with Joe's establishment than like a personal kind of thing. That in the past you've helped him when some storms hit and some boats sank coming out of Jamaica. You were able to find a new supply chain to get some Jamaican ginger over to the Jake Walk.
Yeah, that works. I still have a couple options. Okay, and then for Kurt, that was a no but, right?
Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I know exactly what a Jake Walk is. It's so the cold cuts thing. So like meats, right? It's like, so Jake is like a turkey, right? And like the Jake does the walk, like the cock of the walk, but with the turkey, and it does its thing, right? Like that's the Jake Walk.
Then he just slowly turns his head and kind of looks over.
It's a tough room over here. It's weird.
Okay, so
you do actually have quite the fucking your accents. I can't get out of it.
Yes.
Just say y'all a couple times on mute and come back to
it. Right. I say it now.
So obviously Joe's going to maybe go out, step into the lead. Ruth and Higgins will say, that sounds like a perfect place. Let's head off to the Jake Walk. And obviously Ruth's been around the block a few times, so he mimics kind of the Jake Walk. He starts walking, with moving his legs up and down very quickly and very high, following after Joe. And Higgins kind of shakes his head, and you can hear him whisper over to Ruth, don't exaggerate too much. I'm sure there's press around here. We don't want any more symptoms being added to whatever else has been going on the past month or so. Don't give him anything else to report. And
could Joe, with his possibly recognize that Ruth is having a hard time getting around?
I think so. Brains.
Yeah, brains, because I don't think you have any skills necessarily around that. But yeah, just do like a straight brains rule. So difficulty level 3.
Boom! That's a 1 and a 6. Good start for the night.
Okay,
That's a 6.
Alpha and Omega.
Right?
A yes and. So independently, so obviously Dr. Feldman did his own investigation or quick diagnosis, and he seemed to think to himself, I'm assuming, Kurt, that was just you eyeing him up when he was coming over. You didn't share that with the other guys around you.
Nope.
But he looks. So you've seen pictures of Ruth in the paper before. Not that a black and white picture would show you, but he looks a little wan, and he looks a little pale.
He looks a lot paler than in this newspaper I saw.
Black and white photo of him. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe while Joe doesn't partake himself, he has, in being around the establishment, seen people with a similar gait and style. So he can kind of...
To you, it looks like Ruth's just exaggerating. So he's having a bit of fun. He knows he's seen lots of people with the Jake Walk. I guess he tends to be a bit more of just a beer and spirits kind of man. But I think he's just showing off a bit and being a bit silly doing that. But we'll also say, health wise, he looks like he's a bit run down or whatever.
Okay.
As you know, I don't know how much of a baseball fan you are. I guess there's really not that many other sports to enthrall people at the time, but I'm sure you've heard.
I live in America.
Yeah, exactly. In the 20s. So you kind of know spring training, like I said, is for trying to get back on the horse, get back on the wagon. So it's not surprising that it's early in spring, and Ruth's being sent home early from spring training. So obviously all his calisthenics hasn't been completely done. But from a health standpoint, he looks fine. But there is a kind of niggling thing in the back of your mind saying, okay, he looks all right, but not maybe all right 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ruth's, while he's walking down the street following you, he's belting out. I didn't get a chance to Google some of the, I was going to say Camptown races. So he's belting out some of the standards of the time, singing. As the three of you and Higgins and Ruth are walking away from the train station, people are still following you, but they're kind of drifting back a little bit. And whenever Ruth starts singing, everyone else just starts singing behind. But obviously your party's kind of separating from everyone else as you're walking over to the Jake Walk.
Well, I was going to suggest that perhaps I was like, I do reckon, sir. Perhaps instead of worrying our feet about the little walk, I have a nice little F-25 over here that we might be able to just hop in and shorten our trip a little bit.
So Higgins and Ruth will look over, and Ruth will say, taking a nice walk really builds up the thirst and the appetite, but and he slaps his belly. I wouldn't say no to getting us quicker to finding that drink and that food. I think I've done enough exercise in the past couple months that I can relax a little bit. And Higgins just kind of shakes his head and looks at you and says, yeah, if it speeds up the time for Mr. Ruth to go and slake his thirst, then please lead the way. And he'll stick his arm out, and they'll both follow you to the F-25.
Sounds good.
Can I make I would like to make a streetwise. I don't know if it would be a streetwise. Maybe more of an awareness, I guess, just to take a look around at the crowd, because he's always, kind of a little paranoid anyway. And Babe is here, So is any like high profile people here? Somebody might be trying to muscle in, or he's just kind of on the lookout.
Okay, let's do that as a DL3 then.
Okay. And that's brains is awareness, right?
Yes.
I believe. Pair of fives.
Okay, so that's a yes and. So you'll look around, and so I've got an and, John, and then let me know if you have one. So you'll look around behind. As I said, you've kind of separated a bit. There's nobody really jumps out at you in your line of work that you need to keep an eye on. There's some housewives that have brought their sons down and are waving. There's not that much press here. There may be like the local newspaper. You see the big flash of the camera and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like there's any kind of big, huge national or big city newspapers around. You can't travel that quick. The news of what happened to Ruth kind of filtered back everywhere, but it's not like, the New York Times, or I'm trying to think some of the old names of the newspapers. Anybody from, the big cities has come down. Press, it's just kind of local stuff. So the and will be, Higgins will kind of look over to you, and he's kind of picked up a vibe. He's not being stereotypical. He's not from New York, but he's been in New York kind of a while. I guess he would say it's the cut of your jib, right? So he kind of knows. He kind of gets a feeling for Vinny, so he'll just kind of whisper to Vinny, if you wouldn't mind, and he'll put his hand out real quick. Harry Higgins.
Oh, Vinny, how's it going?
Very good. It doesn't look like there's anybody out here we have to worry about. Just some moms with sons, and the local weekly newspaper. And he kind of rolls his eyes a bit. But if you wouldn't mind, just maybe keep your eyes peeled every once in a while to make sure no prying eyes get too close. But don't be overzealous. We want to make sure Mr. Ruth has a bit of fun. We also don't want that fun to be spoiled by looky-loos or people that don't want to have some fun with us.
Okay, well, you're not expecting any trouble, right? I mean...
No, not at all. It's just... Mr. Ruth's been in trouble a few times with the team for his various activities. So the less news of those activities outside of maybe swatting a few home runs, it's better to keep that under wraps. As I said, don't be too overt about it. But I'm sure you can be able to pick out who would fit in with our little cadre, as opposed to people who are just trying to get in to get some gossip, or maybe do something to not make the babe feel too good. We're trying to lift his spirits, keep him happy, keep him upbeat. We have a big season coming up.
You got it, boss. And he slides his finger down the side of his nose and, points at him.
Okay. And then, so Higgins will say, sounds good. And he'll turn back and, head over to, this is really ignorant, right? I'm assuming the F-25 is like a big old sedan, right, Jesse?
Yeah, it's like a 4-door version of the Model T, basically.
Okay. So he'll kind of scoot back away from Vinny. Vinny's on Overwatch behind you guys, checking out the field of fire. he's bringing up the rear. So everybody heads over towards the car. I'm assuming, Joe, you're going to drive, right? Because it's your car.
No, I have a driver.
Oh, you have a driver. Okay, so there is.
Come on, what are you, Tony? People are going to drive themselves? What kind of world is this?
So Vinny's on the runner board, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, where would Ruth sit? So Higgins will get in the front seat. he'll look over to Joe and say, "We don't want the man sitting up front with the driver. It might distract him a bit. Last thing we want to do is crash from excitement before we even get any food into my big friend's food and drink into my big friend's hands. He's getting a bit antsy. He's a bit hungry. So yeah, the quicker we can get there, the better." So Higgins will slide kind of into the front seat. Vinny will open the door for Ruth to get in, and Ruth will do the big presidential waving before he backs, and then he'll do like the back end of the seat and sit down. So I'm assuming this car has room for everybody, right?
Yeah, let's say it does.
Well, I was going to say, again, Vinny could jump on a runner board. I'm assuming the three of them could probably fit in the back. Four might be tight.
Yeah. But so Higgins is up front, and then that would leave Frederick and Joe and the babe in the back seat.
Yep.
All right.
And every time the camera flashes, he just kind of like puts a hand up or kind of like pulls his jacket up or whatever. Like the last thing he needs is for somebody in New York to see pictures of him with paper.
I think you're safe for the minute unless that goes out to any of the wire services. So this is the Charlottesville Daily Weekly Gazette or whatever, local hometown paper, and the student newspaper. Obviously there's probably a student newspaper out there also.
Yeah,
Could I make like a stealth? Would that be like I don't even know what that would be. Just to like.
So I guess we'll make it that yeah. Go ahead. Let's roll it. I got an idea for that.
Okay.
While he's rolling, Frederick does the opposite. Anytime there's flash bulbs, he like tries to put his face like as close to Ruth as possible, like almost like a photo bomb. Yeah.
So I got a 4.
Okay, so stealth.
I don't have you could roll for any skill. I don't have it.
Let's just say that was a challenging. So let's do this. So that's a yes and, right?
If it was a 3,
exceed
I guess.
by 1. No, exceed by 1 as you now.
Okay.
So
Yep.
So you've got it. You're every time you see a flash, it's the old paparazzi. You're holding up your hand, kind of blocking it, and so you're making sure you don't get your picture taken.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously,
or just like duck behind Babe or something like that. Or
yeah. So obviously, Ruth's kind of hamming it up, sticking his face on the window, and then obviously Frederick's right next to him. Ruth's used to getting his picture taken. He's not too fussed about trying to keep himself hidden. Higgins doesn't seem to be too upset. Also, he's been around Ruth. So I guess Higgins is a scout for the team. And I guess he's been kind of the unofficial babysitter for Ruth. So he kind of follows him around and tries to keep him out of as much trouble as he can. The team didn't want to officially, put security around him or anything like that. They know what Ruth gets up to. But I guess from the team standpoint, if this guy keeps an eye on Ruth, but he's also a baseball guy, right? So he's part of the organization. So it's not too completely out of character that this guy would be following Ruth around. So it doesn't look like he's got they don't want to make it as obvious to everyone around that, they're trying to put a leash on Ruth. So Higgins has been with Ruth for kind of a while, but he is also a baseball guy. He's just not, some kind of security guard they hired for him. So he understands Ruth, gurning for the cameras, making faces and waving. So the good thing will be that Vinny doesn't get pictures taken, but Ruth and Frederick get their picture taken quite a bit. So that's quite fine by Ruth and Higgins. They're all right with that.
Sweet.
Okay. How far away is this place? Mr. Joe.
I said a few, so probably I'd say 4 or 5 blocks. So
Okay.
not a huge distance.
Okay. So you guys pull up to the restaurant. Once you kind of get away from the crowd, then he sees there's not too many people. Obviously, they were all running down the street waving. A few snaps got taken by the local paper and the student paper with Vinny blurred out with his hand or holding his coat up. So he feels good about that, and he feels good that Ruth got his picture taken in a few, so he's happy with that. When you guys get to the Jake Walk, everybody hops out of the car. During the trip over, obviously not that long of a trip, but Ruth is rubbing his hands, looking over to Joe, saying, "Hopefully you'll have have some good grub for me and some stuff to chase that grub down. It's been a long couple months down in Florida. Yeah, Florida, I guess
Probably.
it would be. Yeah. I'm trying to think because some, during that time they used to do spring training in Cuba and Puerto Rico, but we'll just make it easy and say they were down in Florida. It's been hot and muggy down in Florida and hasn't been as easy to find very friendly establishments. Hey, and he'll kind of elbow Joe a bit when he says friendly establishments.
Well, unfortunately, I cannot guarantee that the weather's going to be any better up here, but at the very least, hopefully the food and beverages will treat you a little more kindly.
And then you'll see Ruth clap his hands, and once he claps his hands and says, "Sounds good to me, friend," Higgins will kind of nod his head, just okay. Well, to himself, probably thinking, "Yeah, okay, that's good." He won't be too grumpy right off the bat.
They got some really good roast beef here. You got it with the horseradish on there, a little mustard maybe. It's really, really good.
So yeah, Vinny's yelling through the window a bit, hanging off the side of the car. As soon as Vinny says that, Ruth starts, smacking his belly and says, "Hurry up, let's get this car parked and let's get in and have a bit of fun." So you'll get to the Jake Walk. You'll walk in. What is your relationship to the people working there, Joe?
He is, so we don't actually own the restaurant. We're just like major contributors to it. Like we own a decent portion of it, so we've dumped funds into these. So we're I'd assume maybe like his father was treated well there, but I'm the rich kid who expects a lot of good treatment. So I probably get treatment, but I also probably get like spit in my drinks and my food dropped on the floor a couple of times. So
okay, so let's do it this way. So when you walk in, there'll be kind of a bartender. There'll be not really maitre d', that's the wrong word, but there'll be kind of like the floor manager, right? He'll be at the end of the bar. There'll be a bartender. There'll be a few tables of regulars. When you walk in, okay, what would be awareness? What did we say that was? Brains for awareness, right?
Yep.
Okay, so once you guys walk in the door, obviously Joe comes in first. Higgins will be behind you. Vinny's opened the door for the babe.
White suit, bolo tie, pointing at everybody.
The looks you get back are a bit.
Yep.
That's going to leave Higgins to make a roll. So, so he opens the door for the babe. Kind of does a big flourish of opening door for him. Frederick will try to get out at the same time as the babe, and they'll both kind of try to squeeze out for a minute. And the babe will hop out, and then he'll actually turn around and stick his hand out to Frederick and say, "Let's go, friend. You seem as excited as me to get in and have some refreshment." And he'll kind of yank Frederick out. How big is Frederick?
We'll just say he's just a wiry middle-aged man. Yeah, and he just it's basically just kind of like an adult carrying a toddler pulling a toddler out of a car. And he's just kind of like, "Whoa, boy, you have quite the strength for the size of you. Holy Toledo."
And so the babe will tilt his head back and start laughing. He'll throw his shoulder around Dr. Feldman and say, "That don't sound like any kind of accent I've ever heard before. Are you from Long Island? Maybe Utica?"
"That's it. You've got it spot on." And then he just throws his head back himself and has a good laugh.
So they'll start walking towards the front door. Higgins and Joe are already inside. Vinny's in the back, looking around a bit. So Jesse, I'm assuming the driver. What would the driver do? Would he be staying in the car, or would he be coming in with you?
Oh yeah, we'd get out curbside, and then he'd kind of pull the car around to wherever magical place he parks it until I'm mystically ready to come out, at which point he will read my mind to do so.
pocket
And-
dimension.
Yep, and he will reappear in the curb.
Okay. So Higgins will see Joe walking in, giving everybody finger guns. He'll see kind of like what I say, like the floor manager. I'm trying to think of the right word, but the bartender and I guess maybe the guy running the restaurant. Let's say he's the owner. Joe's family put money in, but the owner's in. They kind of give a look to Joe, not a super, well, here's one of our great regular customers, but kind of here's one of the regulars, or here's that guy again. And let's see if Harry notices that. Okay, so Harry rolls a 6, so I would say that's a yes. And so what Harry will look over and say, the bartender and the guy standing over there don't seem too pleased to see you coming in today.
But they ain't Yankees fans, I can tell you that.
What would they be if they're in Virginia? There's nobody. It's not like even because I know now before the Nationals and the Orioles, I guess maybe it would be Orioles then, wouldn't it? Yeah,
Maybe it might be the closest. That's why I just said they weren't Yankees fans because I couldn't think of what the fuck would be.
I'm trying to think what the was. Yeah, so Higgins looks over and here's Vinny says that everybody should be Yankees fans. And Ruth says, I'm going to make the world Yankees fans, and sticks his arms up in the air and does like a fake swing. So Joe, after Higgins says they don't seem to be too happy to see you here.
He's like, oh, I just reckon that they're a little bit lonely is all. I haven't been able to make my way around here so often with all the, business that we have going on. And I'm sure they're just a little jealous that I've had so much going on is all.
Higgins will walk over to the owner. You'll hear him kind of talking a bit. And it's going on a bit longer than anybody's expecting. Babe's getting a bit antsy. So you'll hear Babe shout, Harry, why don't you pull out that magic wallet and get this thing moving? I'm not getting any younger, and I'm getting too thin.
I'll walk over to the MC, and I'll take off. He's wearing like one of those like straw boater hats. Yeah, and I'll take that off and be like, pardon me, but I believe that you have forgotten to seat myself and my friends here.
He'll look over to Mr. Herindon. We will get everything, and then he'll kind of look to you and kind of look back to Babe, and then look to you and look to Babe, and then all of a sudden, he'll see Harry pull his wallet out a bit, and then he'll say, right away, and his eyes are a bit wide, and he'll go over and start pointing to some of the wait staff to pull tables together, and he'll go over and try to start shooing out some of the regulars, trying to get them towards the front door. And then Higgins shouts, no, let the locals stay. The more, the merrier. The Babe wants to have a bit of fun, and it's no fun if we don't have some more of the local flavor here. And so Ruth will scream, not scream. Ruth will shout, let them stay. Rounds are on me. And as soon as he says that, Harry kind of shakes his head a bit. And
as that happens, so when Harry yells that out, Joe is right in the process of saying, you get these ruffians out of here. I don't want. And then as soon as he says that, oh, yes, of course, everyone's going to be. I don't know what he was doing.
Okay, so the MC will start trying to push people towards the door, and then he'll start bringing them back again. All the tables are getting pushed together. Ruth will kind of sit down at one of the heads of the table, at the head of the table. He'll grab Frederick, and how can I play this? So, my friend from Utica, tell me, what do you do? What's your favorite profession?
Well, I'm. It's a long story, but I'm just a humble physician.
So Ruth will look over and say, "You know what? I want you sitting next to me."
But of
I don't know if
course,
I don't know if you've read the papers recently, but I had a bit of upset on the way up here.
yeah, I've heard you had a bit of a spill, but you don't look as bad as I thought you would have.
He'll say the camera adds 10 pounds, and in my case, I have lots of cameras taking my picture. So, picture. I always get made fun of my accent for saying, "Well, I have lots of cameras taking my picture, so lots of pounds get added by that."
Well, I wasn't talking about the poundage. I was merely referring to the sweating. You do a lot of sweating, you know.
That's what spring training's for, remembering how to sweat. And
That is true. We are in the South.
He'll pull out a chair for Frederick to sit down and look over to Harry and say, "Don't worry, Harry, you don't have to keep an eye on me. I got a doc sitting next to me. He'll keep an eye on me to make sure I don't go too overboard." And, Higgins will kind of shake his head as he's, bringing some of the regulars back in around the table. So Ruth will be at the head of the table. Frederick will be sitting next to him. We'll say Vinny's kind of at the other end of the table. He's down near the door, right? So he's sitting down, keeping an eye on the front door.
He leans over the table and he's like, "Yeah, Freddy's a pretty good guy. He cut this thing off my fucking arm. It was gross. I don't even know what the fuck it was. It was like this lumpy thing." And he's just like holding his arm up and like poking at it.
Okay, Vinny, I don't think we need to talk about that before we're about to eat.
Oh yeah, well yeah, you're right. I was just saying, like, because the day it was all He's good.
I know you called it the sewer rat, and I got rid of it. But let's go to some more not as disgusting details about things.
Right, you're right. And he like does the lock thing and kind of like fake throws the key over his shoulder.
So once you guys are done that discussion, Ruth kind of shakes his head and laughs. I did mention some of you guys say eat. How about getting some eats in here? And he'll shout. And
then Frederick goes, yes, sustenance for this young man. And then he kind of like gives him a little nudge or whatever.
And then Ruth gives you a bit of a nudge back. So there's a whole bunch of elbowing going on between these two guys. They're living it up. So Joe, I'm guessing from your personality and who you are, not that you're going to want to be overseeing everything, right? But I'm assuming you'll be hovering around a bit. You're pretending like this is your place, right? So I'm guessing.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He's trying to order around the wait staff and tell everyone what to do. And if there's any photo opportunities, he's also trying to he doesn't want to be front and center because that's kind of too narcissistic. But he wants to make sure he's at least in the background. And so
lots of snapping of fingers and pointing and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And people shrugging because they have no idea what that means and just doing whatever they're going to do anyway.
Yeah. You're marshaling people around and
they pointing to random people. I just want to look like I know what I'm doing.
What you're doing. And then every time the bartender and the wait staff kind of looks at you and then they look at the MC and he's kind of got like this resigned look on his face because he knows you guys are a big investor, so he can't be too shitty to you.
Exactly. Guys. And they're used to it.
every happy hour.
He brings people into this place like at least once a month. And this game plays out every single time. So,
okay, so he'll be used to that, and he'll have a kind of resigned look. So he'll be pointing back to people in the kitchen. So everybody's set. Vinny's down. I'm assuming near the front or near the door, maybe talking to a couple of the regulars that are there. Frederick and Babe are talking a bit. Frederick's telling them, how to eat more red meat. That'll get some more iron into you and get that pallor out of your face and getting those humors going. Hot dogs may not be red meat, but that's always a good thing to get going. So the babe's quite happy with some of the diagnoses from Dr. Feldman. there'll be, what did you say, roast beef? Is that what you said, John?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like lunchtime, so it won't be like roast beef, like a roast dinner or anything. But there will be roast beef sandwiches.
Like a sandwich.
Exactly. So there'll
Nice
be some roast
thin
beef sandwiches
slice.
coming up. Yeah, exactly. Oh, we'll see. We'll see what your verdict is on that, right, Vinny? So
all this is making me hungry. By the way, I've had supper, but I'm starving. I'm gonna be eating at midnight. I'm gonna be like, somebody give me a sandwich.
So roast beef sandwiches all around. Big bowl of horseradish in the middle, and the MC will go behind the bar. We did say MC, right? Is that what we said, Jesse? We were calling him the MC.
Yeah.
Behind the bar, having the bartender bring out some bottles of sodas, some grape knee-high, all that kind of good stuff. Maybe some root
It's got to
beer.
be
Yeah.
Cokes in 25, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Bottles of Coke.
Sodas. I'm assuming because it's sodas in Virginia, not pop. So some sodas are out.
25, they probably still have cocaine in them.
I'll take two.
Exactly right. Double fisting it.
Yeah.
So everybody jumps in and starts eating. What does Vinny feel about the deliness of these roast beef sandwiches?
I wonder if I should make a roll. I think he digs it, right? Like I said, I think he's been here before, and it's not like too bad of a price. It's nice thin slices. Put some cheddar on there with some horseradish. It's good. Little anjou maybe.
It may not be Katz's Deli, but it's close enough, right? So
yeah.
It's close enough you're going to get down here.
How regular is Vinny? Because I'm wondering if he's actually had an effect on how they've made these sandwiches.
New York
like
style.
They started with like super thick cuts on like Texas toast style bread.
Right.
And
Have him do a charm roll. I mean, come on.
Ooh,
that's
there we
what
go.
these stats are for.
All right. Let's do it. Maybe I gave him a fast talk and be like, no. See what you guys, you're doing it all wrong, right? Like, so what you got to do is you got to get these rolls, right? You get the rolls and you cut them, but you don't cut them all the way through, right? You cut them so you leave them like they're split. You know what I'm saying? And then you cut it real thin. You cut them thin, so thin it's like paper. It's almost like paper. You know what I mean? You put it in there. You put a little bit of the anjou in there, maybe, and you get some cheddar and maybe like maybe some onions, maybe sometimes. I'm not a fan of the onions myself, but some people like it. Oh, so good. Oh, so good.
DL4.
7.
Nice.
I was going to say, so the reason
Perfect.
DL4 was you've got this fast-talking New Yorker talking to these Southerners about how to cook. So there's a bit of that regional rivalry kind of thing. But I think you pretty much nailed it, that you're going to be like the head chef. You're going to be the sous chef. So let's do a yes and. So
They name it the New Yorker.
I was going to say there were. Yeah,
there we go. Yep.
It's called the Vinny, right? Yeah, Vinny's got some sandwiches named after him. So everybody is quite happy. So obviously, I'm sure the Babe and Higgins have had quite a few New York meals over the years. So the Babe will look over to Joe and say, because I think you did tell him, right? You did say, like, this is my establishment or something similar to that thing.
Yeah.
So he'll look over and say, my compliments to the chef.
Thank you. You're welcome.
He definitely brought us
not
to
me.
a good
No,
place.
not me. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
It is the New Yorker, the Vinny. It is it's everything I could have expected not being in New York. I'm quite happy with the sandwich, and Babe's kind of waving it around.
You can't get a good bagel down here, though. I'm just telling you. Like, the sandwich is good, but bagels, forget it. You can't. It's just there's nothing like it.
Well, we pride ourselves on our universal meals down here. You'll be able to find something from down south, from the chicken and waffles to all the way to the west with whatever they got over there, avocado toast and such.
So the
You know, that
MC
prevalent thing in the West in the 1920s, avocado toast.
I'm sure there were millennials in 1925. This is
Right.
2021.
Yeah.
What else do they have over
Yeah,
in the West?
yeah,
I
who
don't know.
knows?
Sushi
Who
wasn't a
knows?
thing yet.
Yeah. I can't pick on you. Anybody ask me a doctor question, a physician type question, I'm just bullshitting, but bullshitting everything anyway. So
the MC will look over to the bartender will look to the MC and kind of ask him questionally, bagels? And the MC will look back to the bartender and say, did Herndon just say hour? Did he say hour? Oh, you are hour? And they're both kind of shaking their head. Everybody starts eating. The babes regaling everybody with tales of some of the fine delis he's been into. He looks over to Frederick and says, I'm telling you, Doc, this sandwich isn't too far away from what I expect in New York. That Vinny guy, he did a really good job with getting them to prepare this the right way.
that's beautiful. It makes me feel like I've had the experience of being in New York. I mean, it's you, it's the babe, and then this sandwich. Oh,
Babe will finish off his soda and kind of tip it upside down and look over to Higgins and kind of give Higgins a look. Higgins will walk over to the MC and the bartender who are they're kind of mad at Joe for the whole hour comment, and the bartender's still wondering what a bagel is. And Higgins will say, looks like the babe's finished his fizzy water stuff. We've got anything a bit stronger for him?
You're muted.
You're muted.
And I'm sure Joe's kind of hovering around.
Oh yeah,
near them
absolutely.
anyways.
Pardon me. Why don't we have a round of the sweet teas in the special glasses? They'll kind of
Sweet
like
wink.
give them a wink. I can't wink.
The MC will look over kind of the bartender and kind of shake his head, yes, exasperatedly. The MC doesn't want to make Joe too upset, right? Because there's, financing coming in. And as you said, he's been through this before. So the bartender will kind of walk back towards the back of the building. You'll see, a couple signs up on the wall, gents and ladies. He'll walk into the men's room. The MC will kind of walk to the front of the door, or front of the restaurant behind Vinny, and flip the sign on the door to closed. So it says closed outside. There's you guys there. There's probably 3 or 4 regulars. They're sitting around the table. Everybody's having a good time. The restaurant is now closed, and from the back, you can hear, or can you hear? Let's see.
Yeah, I was thinking. Strobe
now
light
things are going
pops
to get
down.
good. Yeah.
Hello, my baby. Hello,
Yeah.
my darling.
I think I've got something in my bag.
So
Now
let's do
time to
this. So,
party.
Vinny, you're a bit further away, but you see someone come from a bit further back in the building. You saw the bartender go into the men's room. Then you see somebody kind of walk in with the big crowbar and walks into the men's room.
So if I don't have to roll to see it, so if I just see it,
Yeah, you see it. You're
he
just
cocks
trying to
his
think
head.
about what's going on.
Yeah, and he's like, hold on, guys. I'm gonna be right back. Because I assume he's talking to 2 guys or whatever that are sitting there that maybe he's had coffee with before or whatever.
Mm.
And he goes over to would he go in? Fuck, I don't know. So he goes to Higgins, right? So and he kind of gets sort of behind him and sort of whispers in his ear, and he says, I think we might have some of that trouble that you was talking about.
Higgins will kind of look back to where Vinny's looking and say, if you can do me a favor, just pop back real quick. It looks like everybody went into the men's room, right? Just say you've got to go and got to hop into the gents for a minute.
Yeah. I'll be right back. And he puts a hand on Frederick's shoulder, and he says, I gotta hit the head. I'll be back in a minute. Just keep your eyes open and whatever and stuff. and then squeezes his shoulder.
Yeah.
Gives them a nice hearty massage.
Get some thumbs in there.
Frederick isn't a dumb guy by any means, so he kind of does the thing where he kind of like starts to kind of squirm away from it, like, why are you doing this to me, kind of thing. And then he's like, yes, I shall keep my eyes peeled.
And then I make my way over to the bathroom.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Can I make an awareness to can I hear anything? Like, does anything sound weird? Like, I'll get up to the door and like pause for a minute before I push it open.
Yep. So what we'll do is, so you've gone to the back. The MC went to the front and kind of, we'll say he was walking up to go flip the close sign when you were walking back to talk to Higgins. And while you're walking away from Frederick, you hear the babe kind of lean over to him and say, "Hey Doc, this horseradish sauce, this cleans out the sinuses. This is good for you, isn't it?" And he kind of has a big spoon in it, and it's good for your health. It livens up the blood.
And he says, "Yeah, well, it will definitely clean out your sinuses, that's for sure. But watch it on the old tum-tum. It may give you a little bit of indigestion."
And then Babe will reach over to one of the regulars that's sitting next to him and see that he hasn't really finished the other half of his sandwich, and he'll look back to Frederick and say, "Don't worry, Doc. I'll put some more roast beef on it. That'll soak up all that horseradish," and just start eating.
He kind of laughs, and he's just kind of, "Yep, that will do it."
So Vinny goes walking back. So did you make a roll?
I was asking if I can.
Yeah, awareness or streetwise.
I'll take streetwise. That'll be a 7.
Jeez, oh man, everybody's killing it. So what we'll say is, so you would think normally if someone was walking somewhere with a crowbar, you can't make that too quiet. So you're not too worried about it. And if you don't have an and, I have an and if you don't have one.
So my thought would be that he stops and listens, I guess, if he doesn't hear anything.
Yeah.
And he's able to get the door open without immediately being seen, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like he gets to, push the door, it doesn't creak or anything, and he gets a look inside.
Okay. And I'll add that a bit with so Vinny is in a certain kind of a business, right? He's part of a certain kind of a certain industry. And yeah, if people are walking around with crowbars, you would expect a bit more. So Vinny kind of has an inkling of, okay, they walked back to a secluded room, and they've got a crowbar. There's wood floorboards everywhere, right? And they're in an establishment. So when Vinny pokes his head in, he's not surprised to see that they're lifting up the floorboards, and underneath the floorboards is kind of where their where their other sweet tea is stored. The floorboards to Vinny's eye, they come up quite easier than you would normally expect, So, Vinny's in construction maybe a little bit, so he's been around and he understands that, lifting up floorboards shouldn't be that easy. So there's a bit of Vinny that says, okay, we're a bit safe now. And then, he'll kind of peek his head in. There's a little bit of noise when they're shifting stuff around and laying the floorboards back down, so they don't hear Vinny looking in. But then the MC will come back, and I guess he wouldn't be too upset with Vinny, right? Because Vinny's done a bit of work for you guys before. But he'll come back, and let's say he knows you. I don't know, he knows Vinny, right? Because you named the sandwich and all that kind of stuff, and you're a regular.
Yeah.
The MC will kind of come shuffling back, not running, but he'll kind of come shuffling back and say, "Damn it, Vinny! I got to find a new place to hide that stuff now."
It's like Vinny lets the door close, and he turns around and bumps into him. He's like, "Oh shit! Oh hey, ha ha! Whoa! It's you gave me a little bit of a little palpitation there."
We'd have to find a new place to to hide the business now. You know the deal. The less you know, the less you can tell, or the less trouble you can get into. I wouldn't want you to have to get pinched and, them sweat it out of you. And then, you'll see him turn around and shake his head. He goes, I guess we'll have to put this in the ladies' room now. And you hear him under his breath. It's not like we get that many ladies. It's not like we get that many ladies here anyway. So it's not like it'll be, inappropriate for, us barging in to find the other suites. And he'll just start shaking his head and kind of walk back.
Hey, your secret's safe with me. Don't worry. As he's like walking away.
He shakes his head more. If it wasn't for the fact that the New York Vinny is such a popular seller, you hear him mumbling under his breath. Throw him out in the streets.
So he walks back out towards the table and he just kind of like gives a quick shake of his head. Yeah. And then he wanders back towards maybe like the middle. Now the door's locked. Like he sits down closer to Babe.
Okay.
Yeah. And Frederick kind of nods his head, kind of like in a real hard affirmative. But then when Vinny looks away, he's just kind of like, oh, good. I don't want to have to do anything. So.
All right. So you see the bartender and some of the waitstaff who went into the men's room come out. What exactly is this sweet tea, Joe? I don't think we ever said. What do we say? What do we want to say it is?
It's got to be whiskey or rye, right? I mean, it's got to be like bathtub gin, that kind of shit. You're muted.
You're muted again.
I was thinking more towards like kind of shitty, like moonshine. Like it's not the greatest stuff in the world, but it'll get you by.
Okay, we'll do that. Was he say if it was mint juleps, and then the Babe might have turned his nose up a bit. That's a little bit too fancy for him. I don't know. Have you ever had a mint julep before?
I haven't. No.
Yeah. When I used to work for the racetrack, Kentucky Derby, it was all they would serve.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's all right. Anyways, so we'll bring out the rot gut. It goes into the into the middle of the table. We'll say when it comes out, we'll set down the booze. We said it's a bit of moonshine. Maybe there is an old medicinal bottle of whiskey, right? Because you could get prescriptions for whiskey back then.
Yeah.
Sitting on the table. The Babe looks around. It's not that he's like turning his nose up at it, but it looks like there's a bit of disappointment. He sees the bottle of medicinal whiskey and kind of elbows Frederick again and says, I bet you your prescription pad's full of those, Hound Doc, especially around these times. Prescribing people whiskey. Can't believe it.
He says, he just kind of giggles and he says, what can I say? It's quite popular around here. He's kind of like laughs nervously too, because he just kind of like, even though it's this guy is a prominent baseball player or whatever, he's kind of still nervous. Like I don't want to give anything away of like I'm not the best doctor, or I'm not as below board as I actually am. So he's just kind of nervous.
And then you see the Babe kind of look over. I'm guessing the moonshine's just in like a unlabeled bottle or big jug.
Mason jars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're in the South and it's moonshine, I guess. Yeah, that makes perfect
There you go.
sense.
Yeah.
So the Babe looks a bit at the mason jars. Not that he's completely dismissive, but then he looks back to the whiskey bottle and looks over to Frederick and goes, "Yeah, I think I would rather drink what's prescribed for me." And then Higgins will see that the Babe's a bit disappointed. He'll go over and talk to the MC. The MC will come back with a couple handfuls of beer. He'll stick them kind of not in the middle of the table, but he'll put them in the table. So there's maybe like 4 or 5 beers there. And as soon as the Babe sees that, his eyes light up and he goes out and grabs all the beers and pulls them to himself. He looks around and then he feels a bit bad. He looks to Higgins and he looks to Frederick and he's like, okay, well, my minder's here and there's a doctor next to me. I might as well. And he puts one beer back in the middle of the table for everyone else. So everybody starts jumping in and drinking. Babe stands up, holds out the bottle. And then, you see the bartender come by and just do, pop the bottle cap off real quick. I was standing here. And the babe will stick his arm up and make a toast and say, to my health, to everybody's health, and to the World Series. And he'll chug back a beer.
Here, here.
Here, here.
Vinny poured himself 2 fingers worth of whiskey.
Yeah.
Joe will be leaning over. Excuse me, could I get a wedge of lemon with this?
Frederick is like, it's kind of like doesn't want to drink, but he really wants to drink. So he's like very just like, should I, shouldn't I, whatever. And then he just like is like, I'm here with Babe Ruth. Of course, I'm gonna have a little something. Yeah. So he takes a little bit of the moonshine and throws it into a shot glass, and he takes about half of it. He doesn't take the whole thing, and then he's just like,
Hey, Freddie, you should have wrote yourself a prescription first, huh? It makes it go down a little bit better.
Oh, you're so funny, Vinny. You're so hilarious. So
he sticks his finger out and he takes a sip of the whiskey.
Okay, so
I guess Joe's moonshine is probably like 1 finger moonshine, 4 fingers like tonic water, with like a big honking tablespoon of sugar mixed in there.
Simple syrup.
Exactly.
Yeah, even better. All right, so
and he's still sipping it at that point.
everybody's drinking, everybody's having a good time. Obviously, Vinny's scooted his way back further up to be closer to the babe and where Frederick's sitting. Joe's,
he would try to talk to him about, like, he would reminisce about New York, right? Because he's been gone for a little while.
Yeah.
So, like, for as much as he can, because they're all sort of talking together, he would, like, specifically talk to him, like, about New York and baseball and the Yankees and shit like that.
So, yeah, that's fine. Babe's having a good time. He's enjoying himself. The regulars. I'm assuming Joe's kind of just flitting in and out. So he'll sit down and chat for a bit, but he's trying to be the grandee of managing everything. Yeah, exactly. Hopping around, doing that. Frederick, if he recovers, from his coughing fit, he's partaking of the conversation too. The babes, talking to Vinny about New York and all the good places and all the shady characters, because I'm assuming, right, it's Babe Ruth. So it's like the Frank Sinatra thing, the people you hang out with especially in New York. So all of a sudden, Babe, they're talking, oh, I know that guy. Holy crap. Yeah. He's always sitting in the front row. This guy. So there's, between Vinny and Babe. And Babe looks, over to Frederick and, bouncing back and forth and, almost kind of like Vinny was doing, Babe's telling Frederick, yeah, I twisted my ankle here that one time. And then, I sprained my knee here and showing all his war wounds. The stomach thing that got me now, don't worry, it'll be fine. It was just really hot and humid. And, he's regaling Vinny with New York tales, and he's regaling Frederick with, medical tales back and forth.
And Joe, meanwhile, is trying to laugh at everything and insert himself into the conversation, and it's not working at all.
But you say that, right? So you're trying to bro it up with all the bros, but
yes.
Also the babe knows that you brought him here, and all the stuff in front of him is because of you. So every time you go by and you do that 1 second laugh too late, or the Nathan Fielder, oh, I'm here with all my friends, they're just outside the camera kind of thing. The babe sticks his arm around you and pulls you down and gives you a hug and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like the babe's playing, right? He's not acting. He's over the moon. He's enjoying himself. He's making sure everyone else around is having a good time. That's why he said he wanted to come. And you guys all kind of know this is kind of what you were expecting, right? If Babe Ruth shows up in town, it wasn't like you were going to the library and then, going to the prayer circle. You were expecting this. So I guess to your expectations, it's exactly what you were thinking. So everybody's having a good time. And while that's going on, a couple of regulars, you see the people moving in and out, grabbing drinks, maybe hopping up to the bar to, obviously there's the moonshine and the whiskey and there's a couple beers. If some of the other guys want something to drink, there's the stereotypical bar food to make salty, to make you thirsty, right? There's pretzels and nuts and all kinds of stuff. So they're bringing stuff back. So this goes on for a bit. Vinny notices, one of the regulars goes back. All the floorboards in the bathroom are all back down. All the sweet tea's been brought out. One of the guys goes back. Babe's telling Vinny about, some of the new renovations they were doing to Yankee Stadium, and Vinny knows who has the contract, and they're talking about, who does the cement work, who does the other work. It's all the bidding process. Frederick's, Babe's telling Frederick, about how much of a hack all the Yankee team doctors are. They don't know their elbow from their knee, all that kind of stuff. Vinny notices then another local goes back to the men's room. Joe kind of looks around and sees a couple empty seats. And about 5 or 10 minutes later, it seems like those guys haven't come back from the men's room.
So I guess Vinny probably gets up again then. The one guy leaves, whatever. And then the other guy leaves. And there's not a lot of us in here. And then,
no,
the
it's
first
you
guy
guys
doesn't come back. And
I said it was 3 regulars. It was, just a couple of guys. And then obviously the wait staff and then, the bartender and MC. Right. But your party, there was just, like I said, about three guys that were in. It's still early in the day, right? So it's after the breakfast rush and maybe right before the lunch rush. And Vinny sees, people looking through the window because it's closed, the close sign, and maybe some of the curtains have been pulled a bit, make sure they can't see. But it was getting close to the lunch rush where you're expecting more people, but it was just those 3 guys that were in there when you first came in.
Did anybody else notice those guys fucking never came back?
Can I roll for that?
Yes, you can. What the first statement? I guess just
the awareness. Again?
Yeah, it's the brains.
Yeah. Ooh, night, man! I am just not noticing anything these days. 2.
Okay, so that was a miss by 1. No, but something positive. Do you have anything, Kurt, or I got something if you don't?
Yeah, why don't you go up?
Okay, so Vinny says, have you guys noticed anything of those guys moving back and forth? Obviously, Frederick says no, but he's also really engrossed with talking to the babe. And then let's say that's when the babe says, you don't know, Doc, those team docs are really bad. Half the time, I think they're working for some of the other teams. I think they're plants in there. They're spies. All what they recommend me for is really bad. Maybe we should talk a bit more. You can give me your opinion on what they're trying to give me. So he gets more in depth and, he's more focused talking. Well, he's still drinking, but he's talking to Frederick. And like I said, he's listing down all his ailments and all his treatments. And he really wants to hear Frederick's opinion on those.
Yeah. And he would definitely give him even though in the back of his head, he's kind of like, holy shit, I could be, I could gussy up to him and be his physician and maybe talk my way somewhere or whatever. He's still going to give him his honest opinion, because even though he's a below board physician now, he's still he cared before. And this is almost kind of maybe I could get back to where I was before kind of thing.
You made a mistake, something happened, but you don't forget how being a doctor, right? So it's not like you still know that all the stuff that he's asking you, you still can give good advice. You're just
exactly. And I'm not an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. All that stuff didn't go out of your head when that happened. So
yeah.
Okay, so Vinny said, did anybody notice anything? Frederick's deep in thought. The friggin' cat is meowing her head off.
So he grabs Joe. Then he's like, hey, Joe, right? That's your name?
Yes. Josephine, yeah.
Okay. Right. So, could you come with me for a minute? We want to make sure those guys are okay. Yeah.
Oh, I reckon. Why would we end up doing that?
You don't want somebody to be hurt on your place, right? Like you get in trouble for that.
I guess that's right. Yeah, we should probably go check that out, especially with what's going on right now. I guess we don't want anybody kind of coming in here and checking things out. All right, yeah, let's get on.
So Vinny will go presumably towards the bathroom then to check to see what's going on. I mean, I don't know if there's any other like doors and stuff back there, but
Hey, you walk into the bar, and then it's like a hallway back. Obviously the ladies' room's on the one side, the gents is on the other. Further back, maybe there is. I guess maybe if you go down, that would be kind of down where the kitchen is, right? And then, maybe some storage. But when Vinny was noticing the regulars going back, it was into the men's room. It wasn't like they were walking.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, so it was into the men's room.
Again, like an awareness to listen to see if
Yeah, go ahead.
anything's happening.
Actually, no, you don't need to. So you don't hear anything.
Okay.
When you get back, the door's open. Would it be open? I'm trying to think. Okay, so it's not all the way closed, but it's cracked open more than when you were checking in before. You don't hear anything. There's not anything going on. When you look in, when you push in, you stick your head in. We said 2 of the regulars went back, right?
Yep.
So 2 of the regulars are just kind of like passed out on the floor, just laying there on the floor.
Is this normal in your place? Because I ain't never seen nobody passed out in the bathroom before.
These rapscallions get into the stash again. Tell you, I always tell the MC to move it around every single time, but every once in a while, somebody will find out what's going on.
I'm pretty sure they brought everything out. They were grabbing everything. Should we drag them out of here then? I don't like
physical labor.
All right, I'll get them. I mean, maybe we have Frederick take a look at them because now I'm doing something. Fuck. Yeah, let me. I'll grab them. Just let Freddie know. I'll bring him out. Maybe he could like take a look and make sure that everything's okay.
Yeah, I'll actually just step out the door then and go. Pardon me, Dr. Feldman. I think we could use your assistance in here for a quick minute.
I'm sorry. What is the problem?
We have some gentlemen in distress that I believe might need your assistance.
So when they're okay, yeah, sorry. I'm like getting ahead of everything. So yes, of course. Lead the way.
Vinny's inside, he's smacking the closest guy in the face. Like, hey, you all right there, Chief? What's going on? You all right? Hey, did you hit your head?
So Vinny can tell, obviously they're alive, they're breathing, they're warm, they're not dead. So when Joe and Frederick come back, how about we have? See, this is where every system, first aid or medicine. First aid is fixing something. Medicine is understanding something, right? Is that the easiest way to do it?
Yeah, I mean, first aid would be patching somebody up. Medicine would be like surgery.
Yeah, anything more or the knowledge behind it, right?
Yeah, it's diagnosis.
Yeah. Okay, because let's have Frederick roll a medicine, and let's have Joe roll an occult.
So medicine
Doc, I don't know.
is grace, right?
Yes, because that's
would be brains.
Is it brains?
Oh, it's still brains.
It could be. So so it's listed in the book as brains grace because medicine, like if you're doing surgery, would be more of like a grace based thing.
So that would be great, but then knowing would be brains.
Yeah, it would be the brains. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Sorry, I didn't write it down as far as what the skills go with what stats. So I apologize. Okay, so
I have a first one. Yeah, okay. So that would be medicine and occult. Difficulty 4.
Okay.
Hey Doc, I think maybe they drank too much. I don't know. This guy's he's not snapping out of it.
All right, I rolled a 6.
Okay, that would be a yes and. And Joe, what did Joe get?
Let's see. Ooh, I got a 6.
Nice.
And that would be a yes and. So for Frederick, they look like they just kind of fell asleep, right? From your estimation, everybody, I'm assuming you've been drinking, but obviously you haven't been drinking as much as everyone else.
Yeah.
You've seen the mason jars disappear pretty quickly. There's been another bottle of medicinal whiskey brought out. So, people have been going through the drink pretty quick, not quickly, but pretty steadily. When you were sitting next to Babe, he didn't seem to be any worse for wear, other than just what he's, why he's going back to New York. So everybody, but a lot of booze has been drunk. So they don't look, there's no wounds, there's no bruises. So it's not like they got roughed up or anything like that. It does look like they are, they just kind of passed out. What would be an and for that?
The first thing I was thinking of is like, are they positioned weird? Do they, is there something off with like the coloration of their skin? Is there just something just out of the ordinary that I would be like, okay, this obviously is something that's just doesn't quite fit.
Okay, let's put it this way. So if your assumption is, okay, they look fine, there's no bruises or anything like that on them. If they're just drunk, you wouldn't expect two passed out drunk guys to be, laying perfectly lined up next to each other.
Because I'm just, I'm like, why would there be, one guy? Okay, I get it, but two guys is like, this is weird.
It's not like they just laid down in the bathroom and passed out. Normally they'd be hunched over the sink or whatever. So it does look a bit weird that if they are, if they're drunk and they passed out, they look pretty neat and lined up.
Yeah.
All right. So for Joe, how can we play this? So you had an occult roll, and that was a yes and. You kind of hear Frederick explain to you and Vinny, they don't look like anything happened. They look like they just passed out, but it's a bit weird that they passed out perfectly lined up and comfortable, not hunched over, head in the toilet or anything. So you hear that, and what would be a good and? So you did roll occult, and you had kind of an occulty feel to you, right? So do you have anything on you? Do you have anything on you of the occult, like a crystal or?
Don't you know what? Yeah, let's say he always. So he has like his vest on. It's the pinstripe blue vest, and it normally they'd have like a pocket watch on a chain. But he actually has like a talisman that he had picked up in some shop that deals with the spiritual.
Okay, so let's say when you looked at the two guys passed out, do you have an and or? You're feeling a bit of woo-woo. You just don't know if it's wishful thinking, right?
Let's see that he feels a little bit of a vibration in his pocket, in the vest pocket, and when he takes it out, the talisman just like starts spinning in a circle.
And he holds it up and he shows Vinny and Frederick. And staring.
What the fuck is that?
It's witchcraft. What?
Yeah.
What in the devil?
This
is a warning. It's supposed to show us exactly protect you from the evil entities of the other side.
What the hell are you even talking about? These guys got drunk, passed out in the bathroom, and now you're all woo-woo.
Yeah, I do not believe that is what has happened in this particular circumstance, good sir.
These devil worshippers, what are they?
Can I tell exactly, is there anything from their position or are there any markings or anything on them that would give me kind of a hint as to what has occurred?
No, as you heard Frederick say, there's nothing on them that looked like anything untoward happened. So from what you're involved in and what you like, you don't see any kind of chalk drawings on the floor or symbols drawn on the walls or anything.
Yeah.
It looks like just two dudes passed out, but it just seems very weird that they passed out the way they did.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to do some further research as to the specific reasoning behind this. Perhaps it has to do with the direction that they are pointing, or maybe we are on a unbeknownst to me a fault of spiritual energy that has partaken this event.
Oh shit! I touched that guy. Does that mean I got have I got the hex on me now? And he crosses himself. He like holds his hands up. He's like, "You take him out of here, then."
I would take some extra precautions because I don't know exactly how this is spread. And he'll like turn around to Frederick and give him a wink as well.
Oh shit! He like turns on the bathroom faucet, like starts washing his hands.
Stereotypical Italian praying in Latin. Begins, right?
And Frederick says, make sure you're washing your hands for at least 20 seconds.
Oh, God damn it. To sing the song, right?
Water back on.
Hand washing song.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
A couple Hail Marys.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When Babe had his little spill or whatever, and it was in the paper and stuff like that, did it go into like a lot of detail, or was it just like, oh, something happened and
so I read exactly what did happen. I think it was a matter of, and it is for here.
Yes, they're one and the same.
So he was obviously he'd had an off season of doing typical Babe things. And they were doing like this barnstorming tour through the South on train. They thought it would drum up a bit of money and a bit of notoriety. Really wasn't the best thing. As they're going through the mountains in this train, it was just a bit too much for the Babe. So when he got out of the train, whether he tripped or he was just feeling really bad, it was just one of those, not a blackout, but he got lightheaded and kind of fell. So whether it was because he hadn't slept or he is like sweating it off, right? Like when a wrestler tries to cut weight and they do all that crazy shit. It wasn't that, it was just, he was getting out of the train. They've been on like a 4-hour train ride, bumping through the mountains kind of thing. So from your medical opinion, it was just like, yeah, this big fat guy likes to party and they were trying to get him back into shape. And then he bounced him around on a train for 4 hours. So to you, you're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's not like he was, Charles Atlas and, all of a sudden, he just fell down or, had something happen to him. You're actually, let's put it this way. You're surprised that there's not more maladies that the Babe has to put up with.
Yeah.
Coming through the South after all that, and then, passing out or getting lightheaded, to you, that makes perfect sense. Because who knows? He might have been friggin' drunk then. It wouldn't surprise you, right? It might not be. Maybe he was just hammered and he, almost fell over. So to you, it doesn't really seem, out of the ordinary. And, when you've seen him, he looks fine. He's been pounding horseradish and, roast beef sandwiches and beer, and he doesn't look any worse for wear. And you said you've read all the stories, you've read the newspapers. To you, this is like, yeah, this makes perfect sense, and he doesn't look like he's doing bad or anything.
Okay.
So while you guys are doing that, Vinny's washing his hands and praying. Frederick's, kind of stroking his chin, looking at the bodies and mumbling to himself about the Babe, and is he really? Is that suspicious? That thing we just, you went through is going through your head. Joe's standing there with his crystal and it's spinning around. Higgins comes back and kind of like pops his head in and says, looks like our two friends here had a little bit too much to drink. Why don't we just let them sleep it off? And then you can hear the babe yelling, let's go out and I need a walk. I need to limber up a bit and make some more room for dinner. Dinner follows lunch, and usually dinner places have a lot more to drink. Hey, and he's screaming, or he's shouting to everybody. I always keep saying screaming instead of shouting. So Higgins will say, why don't we just leave our friends here? Mr. Herindon, I'm assuming that, we can leave this in the hands of the MC to clean up after us. And he kind of looked at the table, and it's, it's not horrendous, right? It's not like there's a big food fight or anything, but there's empty mason jars, empty bottles, empty plates everywhere. And he'll walk over to you and say, he'll pull out some money from his wallet and say, if you could give this to the MC, let him know that the babe really appreciates the hospitality that we were able to partake here, and those roast beef sandwiches were really hit the spot. And Higgins kind of winks at Vinny, and Higgins will hand Joe some money. Make sure you get this over to the MC, and make sure you take care of the rest of the staff that was working today.
Oh yes, of course. They are. I will ensure you that they are of the utmost secrecy when it comes to what happens in the closed doors here, and I will definitely ensure that this money, that this gratuity, makes it into the hands of those who are worthy.
The food and drink was great, and from what you're saying, the discretion will be great too. The babe appreciates it, and then you can hear the babe out starting up another song. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's probably no one out there, right? You guys are all back here, so he's singing with the wait staff and the bartender, and he's all getting them all to start singing. Yeah. And the one regular, yeah, exactly. So they're all, they all start singing again. And
I'll say, but when as Joe walks back, he'll pocket probably about 80% of the money and just hand the rest off to the MC.
And while you're walking back, you guys go in front. Higgins kind of looks back, and the door swings closed behind him. He'll walk up to the bartender, and you kind of hear him talking a bit about, it looks like a couple of your regulars are sleeping it off in the back. And then you'll see him kind of, he saw the look in Joe's eyes, right? And maybe he just took out an extra couple bills and, slid it into the vest pocket of the MC to make sure that he could kind of see Joe's vibe. And he, throughout the time he saw the MC's reactions to Joe. So he's assuming something's going to not filter its way down. And, he just asked the bartender, let the guys know when they wake up, the babe had a great time. And, he'll say, do you have a couple pieces of paper and a pen? And he'll go over to the babe while the babe's singing and have them just, give a couple autographs on those pieces of paper. And he'll hand them back to the bartender and say, make sure when the fellas wake up, they get these. The babe's appreciative of the fun he's had here. And the babe will get up from the table, look around, and say, it looks like we've tapped out everything here, folks. Does anybody have a good idea where we should go for dinner?
Can I make it streetwise if I know another, a more straight up speakeasy that we could get to?
I think that's kind of what he's looking for too, right? You've picked up the vibe. It's the babe, so most speakeasy covers are food, but yeah, I think that's what he's at. Yeah, that's what he's angling for.
Oh, I got a 7.
Way to get those dice away from you! Holy crap! Yes, and so you put your finger up. And you have somewhere. So what is the place? What's the name? And what's your and?
So should we recycle the Black Lotus?
That sounds good.
From this back game. So he goes, Mr. Ruth, I know a place, no offense to our current host, but they've got a much wider selection of teas to choose from. And
then you do this with the tea, right?
Yeah.
Teas.
And tonight they also have games to play. And I don't know how you make like a shuffling motion or whatever, but like, you know, there's a poker game tonight, right? There's gambling.
Maybe shake the dice or
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So you were saying this to Babe, or were you saying it to Higgins?
To Babe. I mean out loud, but I mean he's speaking to
Babe.
So wait, pause for a second. What's Vinny's charm?
3.
3? Oh, not bad. All right. I was gonna say because he's like, and there's games to play. Like,
I was trying to do how you shuffle cards, but I can't really, you know.
I mean, he might just say poker, I guess. Like, there's nobody there, right? He'd be like, yeah, you know, we'll get that.
I think you get more in trouble for booze than you would for poker, right?
Sure,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, they got poker on. It's a big game.
So you see the Babe's eyes light up and say, I think you were thinking exactly how I was thinking, Vinny. And then he'll throw his arms up in the air and say, lead the way. And he'll start marching towards the front door. He'll sweep up Frederick in one arm. Vinny's there. And then they'll grab the last regular. I mean, it's lunchtime's over, right? And all his buddies are passed out. He's hanging out with Babe Ruth. He's not gonna stay here. So everybody kind of marches to the door. Higgins goes up and looks around, flips the sign back to open, and unlocks the door and lets you guys out. And I'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So you guys are heading to the Black Lotus, you said, right?
Yep.
Or you didn't say the name, did you?
I did. Yeah. Black
Lotus. You did to them. Okay, you did the Babe. So then you guys go out into the street. It's spring, so it's getting a little, it's not dark. It's around supper time, right? So, you're marching down the street. Babe's singing at the top of his lungs, marching down the street. He's got everybody in his arms that he can get, and you guys are all. I'm assuming Vinny's going to be in the lead, then leading to the. Is this walkable or is this drive? Are you going to drive?
If the other guy's coming with us, let's just say that it's walkable.
Walkable, okay. So
it's like maybe 2 blocks down and a block over, like more into the center of town.
And the Babe did say, nice brisk walk will, build up the appetite and the thirst. And Frederick's probably going, I would recommend getting a good brisk couple thousand steps in before our next he's checking his watch to see the steps clicking off on his watch over to the next place. I'll be right back.
There's kids in short pants and a little fucking dachshund, and kids running with the sticks and shit.
Got a stick and hoop.
Yeah. There's another kid kicking a can.
Hey, I used to play kick the can when I was a kid. Come on.
Yeah, that was like the rage back when I was a kid too.
Right?
There's like 3 kids that are just throwing rocks at each other.
Oh yeah, there was that too. We always,
that's how my brother got his second set of stitches.
Oh, nice.
Jesus.
We always played grenades with tennis balls and threw them at each other's faces. That was fun.
Nice.
Indoors, by the way. Indoors, not outdoors.
Mom loved that.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. The dog loved that too.
Yeah. Oh, shit. So is there any Cthulhu in this thing? Maybe.
I made an occult roll. So
fair. I said a couple Hail Marys. I think we're getting there.
Yep. That's it.
Yep.
That's Cthulhu right there. We're done. We made it.
Just planting the seed.
I imagine it's going to be like a whole other session still.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. I only got about an hour, and then
yeah.
I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin.
Right. This is how we play games, though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, totally.
Exactly. Here's where we need to go. Here's where we are.
Right.
So you can't see my hand. But that's okay.
It
it's about the
seemed
journey.
Yeah, well, it seemed like a weird suggestion to have something with Babe Ruth, and I'm like, well, I mean, all right. I mean, whatever, right? Let's call it Cthulhu scenario. Like, it must have something in it.
Well, obviously these people passing out and Babe himself, it's going to be all connected.
Right.
I thought maybe he was sucking their souls out or some shit. So when we went back, like everybody in the thing was all passed out. Like, that's weird.
Awesome. And all of a sudden he's giant and bloated again.
Sorry about that.
We did it. We won.
Yeah, we figured it out. Yeah, we figured out.
We won.
We murdered Babe Ruth. It's over.
Yeah, we won Cthulhu. So it's all good.
Oh, that would really change the timeline, wouldn't
it? Exactly. Baseball go down the shitter. Holy smokes.
Okay, so you guys are walking down the street, Babe singing and hollering. He's in a very happy mood. Why don't we have Frederick roll another medicine for the heck of it, and Vinny maybe do a streetwise.
All right, I can do that. Well, I can attempt to do that.
Always
I got another 7.
I got a 5.
Okay, those are both yes ands. Well, you guys are getting all kinds of experience points. So Frederick, you're kind of, the Babe's got his arm around you. He's singing. He's, swaying, walking down the street. You seem to think, he's a big guy. He's eaten a lot. He's drank a lot. He may be feeling a bit tipsy. I guess tipsy would the way they wouldn't say buzz or anything, right? So tipsy would be the way. He's in his cups a little bit, but not anything that's like on a scale. He's not like impaired or anything. But he does seem to be having a good time. His face is getting a bit flushed, right? So when you first saw him, he's a bit pale, but he's getting that nice rosy cheeks. He's singing and yelling. He's had a whole bunch of beef, so that probably added to it too. But
you got a yes, but drug tolerance roll.
He seems to be doing. He's having a good day. He's having a grand old time. He's singing, belting out songs. Swaying back and forth. But I think that's just more. He's marching along and he's singing. It's not like he's swaying. And obviously he's not leaning on you, so you're not trying to carry him down the street. So what would be the and for that? What would be the and? And
or go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was.
Well, the only thing I was thinking is maybe I realize that there's going to be obviously there's only going to be a certain point that he's going to continue to be able to do this before, we shouldn't be walking anywhere or whatever, he should be really attended to or whatever.
So maybe let's have the Babe say, while he's singing, he stops for a minute, looks over to you and he says, what do you call you, Freddie? Yeah, I guess he would he'd call you Doc. That's what he was doing before. He's calling you Doc.
No.
He's going to look over and, in that kind of exaggerated while you're drinking kind of way, not drunk kind of way, but exaggerated, super over friendly drunk kind of way, and say, look, Doc, I'm supposed to head to New York to recover. The Yankees setting me up here. This was just a stop along the way. I get to New York. You got to make sure I make my train tomorrow, because if I miss that train, the team's going to be mad at me, and I'm going to be all in the paper. So you got to make sure you keep an eye on me, that even if you got to stick me in a wheelbarrow, you got to get me to the train station tomorrow.
And he looks at him and gives him a wink, and he says, I'll do you one better than that. When we get to where we're at, maybe we have a decent amount of food and drink, but not too much.
Overindulgence is my speciality, but maybe we'll throw a couple extra glasses of water in between all those, Doc. Does that sound good?
Sounds splendid.
Gotta stay hydrated, right?
That's right. You know how to do that.
I said that, not the bed. Okay, so then then he has his arm around Frederick and he kind of pulls him a bit closer again and then starts singing. So Vinny, you got a yes and also, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what kind of area is this? Is it a
So
Vinny kind of area or is it a Joe kind of area?
I think it's more of a Vinny kind of area for sure. Like I think it's further into town, so it's not as nice. Like we're getting away from the university.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more, it's like being in Philly. Like the area around the temple is nice, but then like you go like 3 blocks and then you get murdered.
So Vinny's got his eyes peeled, right?
Yeah, it's not murder in town, but like it's not as nice as the.
Yeah. This is where all the students come to cut loose a bit, and all the locals. This is
your blue collar folks. Yeah.
Business gets done. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What would be the and?
My initial thought was like, as you were saying, it's getting on towards dinner. Maybe there's not a lot of people out because people are going home. Like, oh yeah, Babe came in at like noon or whatever, and a big crowd was there, and then they kind of dispersed, and then like people are getting off from work and like they're going home to have dinner because it's 1920, and you punch out and then go home and eat. So maybe they're able to make it over without being not harassed necessarily, but without
no one taking pictures.
No huge crowd.
And this wouldn't be the area either, right? If it was the dinner rush, people wouldn't be rushing to this area for dinner kind of thing. So let's have Higgins comes up to you, because obviously you've been keeping an eye on everything. Higgins comes over and says, so Vinny, anything we need to keep our eyes peeled for? Is everything all right in the area? You seem to know where we're going and know these streets fairly well.
Yeah, no, everything looks good. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit down the street, like over that way, over there, and he just kind of points down the street.
Okay,
there's not a lot of people, so everything looks good.
So when you say there's not a lot of people, he doesn't slump or anything, but he just says, it's good that there's no people out here, but the Babe does like to have people around him. It's no fun if it's just me and him sitting around drinking. You guys have been great fun so far. For this place, what did you call it? The Black Lotus? Mm-hmm. Will there be some people there for Babe to make sure he gets his face out and sees his adoring fans? I wouldn't want it to just be us hanging around eating again. Not that you guys aren't good company, but the Babe, the more the merrier for the Babe, as always.
Yeah, no offense taken. This place will be packed. This is a jumping joint. You just, you got to get in on the download. You got to know the right password. You got to know the right people. You got to get in. It's because of the whole prohibition thing. It's a real pain in the ass. I'm sure it's no trouble for the Babe, but for the rest of us little people, it's yeah,
It's he kind of shakes his head. Yeah, don't I know it? With that kind of resigned. Doors open really quickly for Mr. Ruth, but sometimes when those doors open, people come in that you really don't want, and some of that leaks out to everyone else. Let me tell you, the past few times he's gone in to negotiate his contract, they've put in a whole bunch of stipulations that the Babe's not too happy about. So as much as we can keep out of the press, the better.
Yeah, it ain't fair, that's for sure. He's one of the best. They're hampering his style. It's like they don't even watch him play the game.
They're holding him back. That's what the Babe always says. They're holding him back.
That's right.
Live hard, live fast, die young, right?
Yeah.
So Higgins will say, why don't you go up to the front? The Babe seems to be having a good time singing with our doctor friend. Why don't you go up and show them, take the lead and show them where we're going?
Yeah, you bet. Who knew Freddie had the set of pipes on him like that?
They're both belting out, right? What's his skills? So what about Joe? What's Joe doing now?
I think Joe is just kind of along for the ride at this moment.
Okay.
But he has what just happened in the bathroom of the Jake walk kind of in the back of his mind, kind of going over any possible detail that he can.
Okay.
After all, that's kind of his passion, his interest. So he's trying to kind of relive that and take in as much as he can. So he's kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say out of it, but slightly disinterested in the conversation goings on right now.
So not saying Joe's a social climber, but you're not in it for the boozy camaraderie or anything, but there's a part of you that's like, hey, I'm hanging out with Babe Ruth and marching through town. Yeah, so I'm not gonna
honestly
be going home to bed early tonight.
Yeah,
so.
the press is already gone. So like right now he's just kind of hanging on because now at least he needs the good word of the Babe. But yeah, like he's already gotten his picture taken with him. He's just not trying to piss him off at this point because now he has like another social in. So,
okay. So Vinny goes up to the front. He's leading the way. He joins in the singing. You kind of see Higgins in the back of the group, right? And he's kind of looking around. How about giving me what can I roll? So you still got that feeling of, some kind of weirdness was happening. Your magic crystal was spinning around and those guys were all kind of passed out. How about giving me another occult roll?
Sure.
He's worrying out
That
like a dog with a bone.
5 total.
So the difficulty level was 5. So what is it? You hit it exactly, but
no
something
but.
negative.
No, yes,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, that's a yes, but.
Yes, but yeah.
Okay, so while you're walking, you hear Vinny and Frederick and the Babe, and what was the other regular from the other place? They're all kind of in the front singing. Vinny's a little bit further up front, showing them where to go. You're pretty close to where you're going, to the Black Lotus. And Higgins is dropping back a bit. And you kind of hearing him muttering under his breath, not necessarily carrying on a conversation with himself, but he's mumbling something. So you do hear that. It's not anything you can pick up, but it does sound a bit like there's something rhythmic to it. I'm not going to say chanting because chanting gives it away, but you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
rhythmic.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think you just gave it away.
I think we've been all playing. If someone's mumbling under the breath rhythmically, then there's something.
Yeah,
going on.
exactly. We all got it.
Yeah. And this is before the age of Bluetooth and everything. So the fact that he's talking to himself is strange enough.
Yeah.
But
so you hear that, but what would be the negative?
well, I mean, it could just be that I don't necessarily pick up on what he's saying or anything. I don't get. I
understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get the murmur. I hear him murmuring, but I can't pick up on any of the specifics.
So you've heard it. Now you're more aware of it. Let's say that was the yes that you heard that, and now you're going to keep an eye on Higgins, but you really can't pick anything up because did we say you were charlatan? You're just in it for you're a scene guy, right? You're really not.
Oh no, this is his passion. Like,
okay, so
the occult is like what he's into now. Like,
okay, so
he's like full hog. Like, he probably got pulled in by a charlatan, but he doesn't understand that. so
you're one of the guys that Harry Houdini was always trying to bust, right? To prove that it was fake.
But
you're way in.
He was one of the ones that was dumping a shit ton of money into it that Houdini was trying to be like, no, it's fucking fake. Don't pay attention to it.
Okay, gotcha. So now your interest is peaked, right? You're
Exactly,
all in.
yeah.
You're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm hanging out with the world's most famous person, right? Because that was always the thing. The babe gets paid more than the president, kind of thing. Because he had a
Right.
better season. That was what his quote was, right? You get paid more than the president. I had a better season. And you've got this guy. Now there's that weirdness back at the Jake walk, and now Higgins is acting a bit weird. So now you're all
Right.
in. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's good. So then we head to the Black Lotus. We'll leave it up to Vinny. Does Vinny have to? Is there a knock on the door and an eye slit opens, that kind of jazz?
Yeah. So they go like around the back of the building, and it's like shaving a haircut. The thing slides open, and he says, I got a special guest for tonight. You want to let us in? The password's bananas."
You'll see the eyes kind of flicker around through the eye slot,
and he steps to the side a little bit.
I was gonna
like
say,
where
right, the eyes
Babe
are
is talking
looking
to Freddie.
So Frederick and the babe are still singing, but not as loud as they are because they know they're trying to get in somewhere where you don't want to draw too much attention, right? So Babe's like, "Look, we got to keep it down. We don't want the cops showing up, right? You got to get all the coppers." So they're still singing, but not as loudly. And then all of a sudden, you see the eyes go completely like cartoon, right? They pop through his eyes get really wide, and then you hear a whole bunch of locks, and the door swing open. And I'm assuming, Vinny, once you get in, whoever was working the door, you're going to know them, right? Because this is
Yeah.
okay. And he kind of looks at you and goes, "Oh, holy shit, Vinny! Where did you find the babe?"
You didn't hear he's coming into town today. He's on some kind of train trip. He's going back to New York. We just started talking to him, and we've been like, he's been hanging around with us.
I work nights, and I usually just read the police blotter. I didn't know what else was going on, but holy hell, get in here. And he starts waving.
Come on, guys, let's go.
He's going to say, "Shit, Vinny, you may get, drinks on the house for the next year if the babe comes and parties with us."
Nice.
And then
could use all the help I could get.
We'll strike off your tab, right? We'll forget about that real quick.
He sticks out his hand to shake.
And the guy shakes your hand, right? Because he's still amazed. He just sticks his hand out and he's staring at Babe. He's staring at Babe and Freddie walking in, and the guy's trying to think, that's not Lou Gehrig. No, that doesn't look like Lou Gehrig. That's Babe. So the Babe walks in, kind of looks around, everything goes really quiet, and there's like hush whispers. And obviously in this place, I'm assuming it's not just a bunch of dudes. I'm sure there's some women hanging out in here, whether it's with the guys who came in or, I'm assuming the wait staff here is probably all women compared to the other place, which is just kind of a restaurant. If it's a speakeasy, I'm assuming most of the wait staff is women.
Probably, yeah. There's probably a bunch of flappers and shit, right? Like it's 1925.
Exactly.
Like there's probably a live jazz band. It's a mixed audience. It's like a mixed audience, but like a mixed clientele, right? It's not.
Well, you're in Virginia, so that makes sense. Yep. So then, it's not a record scratch, but all of a sudden you hear all the music kind of winds down for a minute. Everybody gets quiet and looks around, and there's some hush whispers and stuff. And then the Babe, shouts, "Give us all you got. The Babe's in town and no one can stop him." And then Higgins will kind of walk in, come up to Vinny and say to Vinny, "So you mentioned about some of the games and activities. I don't think the Babe's too excited for the gambling part of that, but I'm assuming if there is something here of that, it's kind of in a separate room in the back away from everybody. So maybe if we could," so he pulls out his wallet and says, "Maybe if we can clear out that area where that usually takes place. I know the cut from the bar will be a bit lower tonight, but I think the Babe would like to have a nice quiet room for everybody to go in. But let the management know. I'll make up for whatever cut they're going to miss out on tonight. I'll cover the VIG. How's that?"
Yeah, for sure. Hold on, let me go find him. And he'll wander off and look for the guy who kind of manages the joint.
Okay, and he'll come back. He'll talk to Higgins a bit. You'll see Higgins hand him a bit of money. And you'll hear Higgins talking to him. He's not whispering. He's not hiding anything. He's just like, look, a nice quiet place in the back. I'm sure you have one of those. But we just don't want any journos popping in and spoiling the great man's fun tonight. But also, we have our party, but some of the rest of the people in here, don't mind them coming back in. The babe always likes to have people around. So if you could just lead us to a little bit of a more secure room, we can continue with the party. And so I'm guessing, you'll walk through. The music starts back up again. Babe's walking through, doing normal famous athlete stuff. He's shaking hands, giving kisses. I'm sure there's a bunch of flappers coming up to him. He's giving them kisses, signing a few things. So Vinny, I'm guessing you'll be in front, and whoever the owner or the manager is taking you back to just a room.
Yeah.
Back in the back. It's where the gambling, the tables and stuff would be, the cards or whatever. Some of the people that are in there, you hear them grumbling coming out and saying, I had a really good hand on that one. Or, I rolled the dice and no one looked. Everybody's hustling me out. But when they see the babe walking by, they kind of stop. And then they get back in line at the end and start following you back in. If I'm not going to gamble, I'm going to hang out with the babe. So while you're walking back, maybe it's some steps down. It's a little bit off to the side. There's the storage over there. But when you guys are walking in, so Frederick's right next to the babe. The babe's kind of still singing a bit, talking to people. Hey, everybody, come on, let's go. Drinks are on me. And then a big roar goes up. While you're walking by, you walk by the wall. We're going in. And Higgins, so you're all up around there. And then you hear Higgins start mumbling again. So why don't everybody give me awareness, we said, right?
Yep.
Ooh, 6.
I also got a 6. We could just assume Kurt fails probably again.
He's got the babe singing in his ear, right?
Right. He's back. He's back. We need you to give us an awareness, bud.
Damn it, sorry. I've had a lot of water to drink today. I apologize.
Stay hydrated.
Yep, exactly. Stay hydrated. All right. That is a 4.
Okay, so Kurt is a no, but, and Joe and Vinny are a yes, and. So the no, but is could be the negative. So the babe still has his arm around you. He's still singing a bit. He's shouting back to everybody to come join him. So you don't notice Higgins coming up and kind of stopping and staring at the brick wall as you're walking by into the room. You're going into the room where usually all the gaming's taking place, but babe they kicked them out so you could have a nice secluded area. But then all the gamblers are just falling back in line and following you in because the babe's here. So they're going to go party with the babe. So you don't see Higgins. But you do notice, unless you have something, you do notice he seems very intent on staring at kind of like the brick wall as you're walking by into the room.
Okay. So then I'll kind of stare at him a little bit, and then I'll turn to the babe and I'll be like, so what is with this Higgins character? He's acting very odd. Look at him stare at that wall.
Yeah, and then the babe will stop singing for a minute and look over and say, yeah, that does seem a bit strange. Once we get settled in and we have a few drinks, Doc, remind me to make sure I ask Higgins about that. He has been acting a bit weird, and I don't remember him being a bricklayer. It does seem a bit strange. But like I said, he keeps me out of trouble, and he's really good at sniffing out prospects in the minor leagues. So, but make sure you give me a nudge later so you can remind me to ask him about that.
Can I ask you one more question?
Of course, Doc. We're here having a good time.
Oh, that's good. So, I hate to pry into your personal life, but when you had that little spill that everyone's talking about, was Higgins there also?
That was before they split off. Yeah, the whole team was there. We were traveling up. We just finished a barnstorming game, and we were heading up through Tennessee on our way to another one. So it wasn't just Higgins; it was the whole Yankee staff and all the players. I don't think he was necessarily with me at the time when I fell. I think I was hanging out with O'Neill, our catcher. He was the one that caught me. That was probably the best catch he ever made, was saving me from smashing my head against the ground.
Ooh, that's quite a good pun there. I get the base. I don't really know baseball that well. I know cricket, but I do get that joke. Very good.
But yeah, Doc Higgins was there. He's always with the team, especially in spring training. All the scouts are out taking a look at the other teams we're playing to see if we can pick up some talent. But I was going to say wingman. That's probably not what nobody would say wingman at the time. Higgins always hangs out with me. I think he's been assigned to me to try to keep me out of as much trouble as he can. But no, we were all just on the train at that time.
Does he always mumble like that? Because he's like fucking mumbling and shit.
I don't know. That's what I just told the doc here. We gotta make sure I ask him about it later. But I'm feeling a bit dry, so let's get in. I need a bit of drink to get down my neck, and then I'll be able to think of pulling Higgins over and see what the heck's going on. So Jesse, you get a yes and.
I do.
If you don't have anything,
I have nothing.
So John, yours kind of feels the same. John, yours kind of feels the same as Kirch, though. That the babe's telling you to remind them.
Well, here's the thing. So the ends and the buts don't necessarily have to be tied to the role, which we almost never do because it's the easiest thing to be like, oh yeah, yes, I find the thing and nobody sees me, or yes, blah blah blah.
You just want to do it narratively. Then, if we can add more bits to the narrative, is that the way you want to do it? Or?
Yeah. So it could be something unrelated, right? So like, yes, we hear him mumbling, and. I can't think of anything off the top of my
Great example.
And something else drives the narrative forward.
Yeah, like
so
nobody causes any trouble, right? So like the gamblers come in and they don't cause a scene, or fucking Louis Armstrong walks back, and now we're sitting with Louis and the babe, like drinking and smoking, and you know what I mean. Like it could be any random thing that has a positive
tied to the role or that action.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say, and I think to Jesse's point, as we said before, the thing with Call of Cthulhu, right, is if you miss your library use roll, you're kind of stuck, and you really need that clue. This gives you a way to get around that, to get the information.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So let's just say, let's just say that. So the babe says, yeah, Vinny, you seem to have been doing a good job recently. Why don't you just keep an eye on Higgins just in case? I don't think he normally drinks, but maybe he's had a few when we weren't looking. Maybe he snuck a jar back, but keep an eye on him. And then while you're walking back, let's just say the band's coming back too. So they're going to be playing some music for you guys.
Yeah, all right, cool.
We will say
I have an end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Vinny grabs one of the flappers, and she's just sitting with him. Then, like she's sitting on his lap. She's got a glass of not real champagne. He's got a glass of whiskey, and he's just kind of like they're talking and flirting and whatever. But like he's kind of got his eyes on Higgins. Then
you and I can't get any better. Then, right? The babe hanging out with the flapper at the speakeasy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So while you guys are following in, we'll do your and in 1 second, Jesse. Let me scroll down a bit. So when you guys are walking back everybody's starting to sit down at the table. And then you see kind of the same as before. So Babe sits at the top. He's got Frederick next to him. Vinny's next to him on the other side with a flapper on his knee. The other regular from Jake walks kind of sitting there. He's just been dragged along in the wake. He's a bit shell-shocked and wide-eyed, but he's like, well, I'm not going home yet. My other two buddies, passed out. I'm going to be here at party. So then the Babe starts shouting for drinks. The music starts up. But while you're walking by Higgins, Joe, him staring at the wall, he stops for a minute and kind of notices you guys seeing him stop. Not notices, but he kind of stops, stares for a second, but then oh, that's a bit obvious. So he'll start kind of walking, but he'll still be staring at the wall. And Joe will hear him mumbling under his breath, brick walls, almost time, brick walls. And then he'll walk in. And he looks fine, right? He doesn't look like he just mumbled something about brick walls and being time, and walks into the room, kind of pops his head out after everybody gets in, starts shouting for drinks, and, kind of closes the door. So if you want to roll an occult also.
Sure.
This is going to be a hard one, though, so.
That is double ones. So that is a 2.
That's not brick. That's concrete. What the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, it's just molded concrete.
He's a weird guy. Is he an architect also? I don't know. So
Maybe his dad was a mason.
Super failure, right? Or doubles are super success. But
no, there's no.
I know. Maybe his dad's a mason. There you go. Maybe he's a Freemason. Maybe that's
perfect.
Right?
Yep.
You combine Mason with Freemason.
Yep.
Okay, so you guys are all in. Partying's going on. Drinks are flowing in and out. Vinny is obviously up at the top with Frederick and the Babe, and I'm assuming Joe's kind of just up there also chatting. Joe's trying to pick out if there's a who's who of people to schmooze with, right? Because that's his whole plan for being here. This may be in a disreputable part of town, but we all know that everybody likes to come have fun. So Joe's trying to see if he knows anybody from society to say, hey, look, I'm hanging out with the Babe. Did you see me?
Right.
Came in with the Babe kind of thing. Drinks are coming in and out. The Babe gets up. People start throwing a couple dinner rolls at him. He's swinging at them, goofing around, throwing them back, saying, you know what? I'm a pitcher. I used to be a pitcher also. I was one of the best pitchers in the league. And so then he starts pitching them back, and everybody's having a grand old time. And why don't you guys give me why don't you give me I keep doing awareness, but let me see if we can do something else. What's another one we could do? Psychology. So that would be brains or psyche.
I'll make a straight psyche check for me.
That's a 3.
I got a 5.
I also got a 5.
So those were the skills from the core book, and then these are the ones from COREthulhu. I was just trying to see if there was anything.
I mean, insight. Yeah, it depends on what the thing is, right? Which is only what you know. So it could be insight.
Let's do insight, because that's brains and psyche is insight also. So I'm not changing all the roles, but that fits in more narratively than psychology.
Okay, I still only got a 5.
Okay, and then if you have any pluses to that for insight,
yeah, I don't.
Okay. So you got a 5. What did Frederick get?
I got a 5 also.
Okay, and Joe?
3.
Okay, so 4. Let me see what the DL. Oh, I thought I had the DL right at the top because I knew I'd be using that a lot. This is a roll heavy one, John. Sorry, I like to roll.
No, and that's fine. And an investigative game is gonna be more check heavy as you're trying to figure stuff out. So it's not gonna be as deep, psychic content like say the Day Trippers game is. And it's just what it is. It could be, right? Depending on how a scenario is written and who's playing and, you know, whether or not it's campaign and all that kind of stuff. But like this is what I expect as we play test. This is going to be real check heavy. That's fine.
Okay, so Vinny and Frederick look around, and you know the babe's having a good time. He's hopping up on his chair. He's playing dinner roll baseball, and music's playing, and everybody's drinking. But Vinny and Frederick kind of look around. So you guys got a 5. So this is exceed by 1. So you guys nailed it precisely. So you got a yes. You notice around the edge of the room, you know, there's lots of chairs at the table, but then there's also some chairs pulled up and just set against the wall, right? Because there's lots of people coming in. You notice a handful, and it seems like as the time's gone on, you notice a lot more people have just kind of propped themselves up against the wall, and kind of looks like almost like the guys you saw in the men's room at the Jake Walk. So just some bunch of people, men and women. Looks like they're passed out. They're drunk. There's a whole bunch of chairs along the walls, and you know, more people have been filing in, replacing them sitting at the table. But there does seem to be a handful more and growing of people. Just seem like they've partied themselves out already up against the walls.
Are they on the floor? Or they're sitting in chairs,
Yeah, sitting in
kind of like
chairs.
slumped over.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, not like hanging over, flopped down or anything, but like kind of sitting in a chair. Almost a bit weirdly, right? So they're sitting in the chair.
Rigid.
If they're drunk, not rigid, but Frederick can look and see, okay, they're all breathing. They're all, you know, whatever. It just looks like they're asleep in chairs. They're not, trust me, when I'm hammered and I'm in a chair, I'm slumped over. I'm trying to get comfortable. You know, they're just kind of sitting in chairs.
And so they're sitting as if they were awake. So they're sitting pretty much, you know, just sort of like
Eyes
straight
closed.
up.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not like
Sleep.
rigid, like they're tight, but they're just like sitting like they would normally be sitting.
Yeah, and then but their eyes are closed. And you know, maybe if people walk by offering drinks to them and they've, you know, nothing. So if someone offers them a drink and there's no answer, then they're like, well, it's mine now. And the guys at the people at the table are still drinking.
So I think, you know, Vinny's like, oh, give me 1 second, babe. Sorry, I got to get up. And, you know, kind of like scoots her off his lap. You know, she's like, nah. You know, but she sits on Babe's lap instead because, you know, like he's worth a lot of money. So like, fuck this guy. So he just, you know, he like, you know, gets up and you know, like he looks down at his hands and he kind of like rubs his hands together because he remembers what happened in the bathroom, but he kind of like pokes one of them and then kind of like casts a glance over to Frederick.
No reaction from the pokey, but when you poke them, you know, they feel warm. You can feel the breathing. They just look like, they're sitting there. And, you know, I'm sure Vinny's had, you know, he's gone a few extra cups himself, and he's thinking to himself, if I was drunk, I wouldn't be sitting perfectly still in a chair. I'd be snoring. Yeah, exactly. So, but so, you know, Vinny does see that.
So he's like, all right. So, you know, like kind of shuffles around the table over to Frederick, and he's like, do you see this?
Yes, it's quite odd. I don't understand what's going on. It seems like wherever we go, people are starting to, I don't know. I wouldn't call it a coincidence if it hasn't really happened to this many people, you know, here and at the other place, at the other establishment.
And then he just goes, and he tries to catch Joe's eye, and he just kind of like flicks his eyes up, like, you know, you see this shit?
Yeah, so he'll finish talking up to a couple of the people that he's been talking to and make his way quickly over to Vinny.
So yours is a no but, right, Jesse? Because you rolled a 3. It was a 4. Yeah, it was a 4 and you rolled a 3. Okay, so no but. So obviously Joe didn't notice because he was keeping an eye on Higgins and, you know, just gad flying around. So he hasn't noticed the people. But then even with all the noise and everything going on, Vinny is able to get Joe's attention. And so Joe goes over and starts talking to Vinny and Frederick.
So, what the fuck are we supposed to do? That's not normal, right? I mean, there's no way that's fucking normal. If I was passed out, I'd be on the floor. You know what I mean?
What's going on with your trinket there, Joe? Is it are you getting a reading?
He'll take it out of his pocket again, and is it doing anything this time around?
Yes. So when you were holding it before, we said it was kind of spinning, right?
Yeah.
So let's say this time it's spinning, but it's spinning so much instead of just like the crystal spinning, it's like where the part of the chain you're holding it. It's like penduluming, if that's a word, back and forth. Like a pendulum. It's doing a pendulum. So the crystal's just not spinning. You know, the part of where the chain you're holding it, it's, flopping back and forth.
Nice. I do suspect that there may be some energies around here that we are dealing with.
Did you hear Higgins was fucking mumbling some shit when we came in? Did you hear that? Is that something?
I did. I wasn't able to pick up on exactly what he was jibber jabbering about, but yes, I did hear him mumbling along to himself.
I mean, maybe he's just uncomfortable being in a place like this. I don't know. I can't imagine this is the first time that he's been in a speakeasy with a babe,
I find it kind of odd that if I put 2 and 2 and 2 together, when it comes to this...
That's 8.
Yes. Yep, exactly. When it comes to this Higgins character, it seems like wherever he goes, something odd happens with it.
But I mean, he's he's not as famous as Babe is famous, but like, if he's the scout, like everybody like knows him and stuff, right? Like that's not.
Let's just say that maybe he's not exactly the guy that we think he is. Maybe it's someone pretending to be this gentleman, and maybe the Babe just doesn't know any better.
I don't know. I mean, he seems like an okay guy.
So then how do you explain this mumbling?
I don't know.
The staring at the wall? Do you think that maybe I should check up on him and make sure that nothing's going on up there?
Maybe you want to ask him if he's feeling okay. Maybe he's maybe he's coming down with a bug or something.
Yeah, maybe I can do a few things and make sure that he's doing okay. Maybe he's not hydrated enough. Who knows?
That's possible. I mean, I could try to like lift his wallet, but I don't know if that really helps us.
Which is for practice, right? You're gonna get some practice.
So Frederick's like, well, it seems that the Babe is like wanting me to be his right hand man, but if I'm going to try to figure out what's going on with this Higgins character, one of you is going to have to keep him busy.
Who, Higgins or the Babe? Who are you talking about? Oh, he's pretty entertained already.
He's busy already.
and Vinny's shoulders kind of dropped because like he had plans for later.
Nice. And Frederick kind of gets this face, and he's like, I don't think I would want anything bad to happen to him. So maybe if no one's going to be by his side, maybe we should just make sure we keep an eye peeled just in case.
You got it, Freddie.
Okay, is Joe going to do anything, or is that just all?
Yeah, I think I'll head over with the dog,
holding out your crystals.
Yeah, I'll kind of like I'll keep it down. I'll keep it in my pocket and just like feel the vibration of it. But yeah, just making sure that that we can, because if he's going to check out Higgins, then I suppose that's where probably most of the supernatural stuff will be. So a second set of eyes would be helpful on that.
Okay. So when you guys turn around and look after talking, you'll see Higgins close the door, and obviously this is a gaming room in a speakeasy, so the locks are on this side. So you'll see him throw the locks and turn around and shout as loud as extremely loud for someone not using a PA system in a stadium, and he'll shout, "Silence! The time is at hand!" And he'll raise his arms, and when he does that, you see the babe kind of slump down in his chair. Like, so he kind of slumps down, his head falls down, kind of looking like everyone else that's passed out. And then give me a psyche roll.
Vinny goes, "What the fuck?"
4.
Jesus.
Ooh, 3.
Also a 3.
Who got the
It's gonna be
4,
bad,
Joe?
guys.
You two, your dice are like in quantum entanglement right now. Like,
Okay, so 4 is a hit it exactly, so that's a yes, but. And the 3s are a no, but. So let's see.
So you're gonna roll on the random shock table for Kurt and I, then, I guess.
Yep. That's why I wanted to get to this, so we can do some of those mechanics.
Yeah.
Did I copy it into my separate form, or is it on the other one?
I have it up if you just want to tell me what the numbers are.
Yeah, I have the other form. Okay, so let's do. Where did that paper go? Okay, well, let's roll real quick while I keep farting around trying to find it. Oh, wait, it's on my other screen. Never mind.
What do you got? Like 6 screens? Like you're in the guy from the Matrix or something?
I mean, he is IT after all. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is kind of my wife, but she's only got 1 screen. I mean,
Well, this is why I had to go to the eye doctor the other day and get fucking bifocals. Okay, so the shock table is
on multiple
2d6
screens at one time.
2d6, yeah.
yeah.
I'm 5 screening it, baby. If I get my phone going, then it'll be 5 screening.
Hey, I'm
So this
dual
is-
screening.
So this is for Vinny and
So each one will be
dog.
separate.
so that one is a 4 for Vinny.
Okay, so 2 to 4 is holding it together.
Okay. So Vinny screams, "What the fuck?" and then sees the babe's head slump down and the flapper on his lap. She kind of slumps down too. So Vinny's thought is like, well, maybe if I become the hero, then we'll see how the worm may turn.
He
Okay, so that's
runs
4.
over to the 2 of them, kind of like make sure nobody like falls out of a chair or whatever.
So that's on the psyche table, and then the question is, then how does that go for trauma? Then
So it's only a trauma if it's a no end.
Yeah.
no, and that was
if
okay.
you
I
roll a
forgot to copy that
12.
down. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And for the doctor, it is a 6 and a 3 is 9.
Oh my god.
So 9 is going to be lashing out at the nearest being physically or verbally. So he's standing like did they make it to Higgins? Otherwise he's standing next to Joe. I mean, I guess the room was full of people, but
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because I thought Joe wasn't Joe kind of heading towards?
so Frederick and Joe, so we had a convo.
Yeah.
And then you said as Joe and Frederick turned to go talk
Okay,
to
Joe.
Higgins, he
I thought it
locked
was
the
just
door.
Joe. That's my fault. I thought it was just
Yeah,
Joe
yeah.
turn around. Okay.
So we could theoretically all sort of still be standing together then, right? If they didn't get a chance to move.
So let's do. So that was the no but,
yeah.
and Joe has a yes but, right? because you hit it exactly.
Correct,
You
yeah.
got 4. So let's have it where
So here,
Vinny
so
starts. Go ahead.
before you go, so when you're making the psyche roll against shock, a yes but is a hit exactly. So you're working hard to hold it together. Joe will be stunned for 1 frame as we're dropping into action frames now, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the no but is you just roll on the shock table.
And that was the DL4, right? So the psyche was against the DL4.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's what I thought. So let's say that Vinny's heading over towards the babe. Obviously, he's going to check on the babe and the flapper because he sees them kind of slump down. Joe and Frederick were turning towards Higgins, and let's say that, yeah. So maybe the yes but is you are the closest one to Frederick.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
So Frederick, was it lashing out physically or verbally?
Yep.
Can I do both?
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
So he I'm gonna say that Joe's just a little bit ahead of Frederick, and then he's like, "Go get him!" and he pushes him towards Higgins.
Nah.
go save us.
And Joe is stunned, so he just kind of like stumbles forward.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like,
Freddy
"What the
pushes
fuck?"
I
And
like
then,
that.
and I
That's good.
think at this point we move into action frames and stuff is happening. So it's
Yeah.
everybody will, what are you doing? Everybody will make a roll and we'll figure
Okay.
out what's happening then. Right.
Okay.
I mean, that would be
And that's what I want to do. I wanted to get the psyche / trauma
yep.
thing, and then the next one. Okay, so when you look over, you heard, obviously Higgins shouted silence. The babe everyone else kind of slumped down, except you 3. So that was also part of that role, is to see if any of you slumped down whenever Higgins shouted. Joe had the feeling, obviously with his crystal, that it looks like Higgins is doing something. And while you're looking, Frederick shoves you, and on the wall behind where everybody's sitting, there is the bricks almost look like they start swirling and like turning into a portal. And it's almost like a whirlpool, but it has like the color of the bricks and the mortar spinning around. And when it picks up a bit of speed, a couple of the regulars that were sitting in front of it get sucked into that portal, the chair and all. So that gets kind of sucked in, almost like a vortex. And then you'll hear Higgins scream, "The time has come, Master. Heed my words. I live to serve." And he kind of raises his arm while that thing's still spinning. The area in front of the portal is kind of cleared out. The regulars that were sitting in front of it kind of gets pulled in. The last regular that gets kind of pulled in kind of like stops in midair, and the body starts shaking. And then it looks like the body starts expanding and the clothes kind of burst from it. And after all the clothes burst out, it's getting bigger and bigger. And it just looks like the body just becomes this real pale, extremely obese body. And then the head starts shrinking down into like the shoulders, the head and the neck start going down, and you hear like crunching. And when it almost looks like the head kind of gets absorbed into like the chest area, and then the hands on this big pale fat thing sticks its hands out, and in each hand mouths appear on its hand, and it's floating right in the middle of this portal. So let's make another.
I was gonna say that sounds like another psyche check.
Right.
Because the one was for the spell. So obviously Higgins was doing the spell, and then this is. I figured let's do the mechanic, right? We could have tied those both together, but what the hell? Let's roll it again and see to test out the mechanic.
Well, so let me ask you this. So Jesse succeeded, you got a 6. So in the rules I have written, like, depending on what the psyche check may or may not be. So like if you see a ghoul, it's not unreasonable to be like, hey, can I add my occult?
Yeah.
Right. Because the dice are going to tell you whether or not you've ever seen one, ever read about one, ever seen a picture.
Yeah.
So is it fair then, or reasonable in your estimation, for Jesse to add his occult to the psyche roll, and then the dice are going to tell us whether or not he's read anything about a portal or or that kind of stuff. But it's your call as a GM. I'm bringing it up as a playtest.
No, and I think that's good. Obviously, that fits in with the occult, right? Because whenever you play any kind of flavor of Cthulhu role playing game, whoever has that kind of stuff, you want them to roll because that gives you an advantage. So that would make sense to do this. Yeah. Do we tie those psyche rolls in COREthulhu? Are we tying that specifically to magic or occult, or can you also tie that to something else? I don't know, like street talk, streetwise. I don't know. Are we saying with COREthulhu you tie it specifically to magic-y?
I think so. Okay. Right. So like magic, occult. Those we're seeing a portal open. So if one of us had magic, it'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna add magic because I have done something like this, or I've read something like this. Yeah. Streetwise is not any preparation for like, oh, the fucking bricks are swirling and there's a monster. And I think for Cthulhu games like the sanity thing, you roll on sand, you do this or that. You can't say, okay, I read a tome, I'm going to roll on sand. Can I also use my, operate heavy machinery against it? So that makes sense that you wouldn't tie those two together. So the other thing, so we can absolutely run it the way that you just did it narratively to set the scene. Like, okay, this is what's happening, or because we're dropping into frames, right? So he got the free action of like silence. Spell. They pass out. We're shocked by seeing a weird thing. Mm-hmm. We roll into action frames while he's casting a spell. Mm-hmm. He makes a roll to perform magic. So if he has, brains of 3 and magic at +2, you roll 3 dice, you add your +2 while we're all doing something. And then we compare those results. Now, if no one is attacking anyone, so like, if my role, say, would be to try to wake the babe up,
or that would be table over or stuff like
else.
That. Yeah,
right. Yeah. But if Joe is going to try to punch Higgins in the face, then he would roll his grace in fighting versus the magic roll, and whoever succeeds will have their action happen. Right. So, like, if Jesse rolls a 7 and Higgins rolls a 4. Then the spell doesn't actually take place, right? Because it's all happening together at the same time in a frame situation. Although if you have multiple people doing it, so like if he succeeds and Frederick and I fail, I don't know how that affects the spell then. You know what I mean?
So let's do it this way. So we dropped in the frame. Yeah, I guess what we said the free action was that spell of silence and everybody drops. So let's say you're seeing this, right? The thing starts spinning and this big disgusting thing comes out with mouth, hands, and all that kind of stuff. But it's not solidified yet, right? So he's casting the spell. So let's play it. He's doing the spell, and then your actions will be if that affects the spell, right? Because that's what you were saying. We're in frame now. Yeah.
It's starting,
okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. I will roll his spell, and then you guys can tell me what you guys want to do.
Fuck, I don't know. I mean, I don't think would I shoot him? I guess maybe I'd shoot him, right? Like, he's a criminal. I think he fucking shoots him. I think he pulls out his pistol and shoots him. What the fuck is happening?
Okay, go ahead and roll.
And then like a logical response.
The DL for psyche is different. I couldn't remember in the magic thing. Did we say that magic is a DL4 also, or is that something separate?
So it's going to be a comparative roll, right? So his action in this frame is casting a spell.
Yep.
If he succeeds, it happens.
So it's not a DL. It's compared to what you guys are doing. He's not doing this in isolation.
Roll. Yep.
If he was doing this in isolation, it would be against
it would be against a DL, right? Like
but it's rolling it against you guys. Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
I gotcha.
And magic could be either way. So in Unnatural, Todd's other game that he's released, magic is cast against the DL. specifically. So like it's considered doing something else in combat. So he could cast the spell. It happens if he succeeds on his DL,
you guys do.
but your base defense is like 2. And if you don't have cover or armor or whatever, like you get fucking popped probably.
Okay.
So COREthulhu has it more of like an opposed action, just like a regular combat.
And I like that because you're casting almost like D&D, right? If you disrupt the spell, then it's spellcaster. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so I am shooting. He pulls out his pistol and shoots. Your guys casting a spell. Joe, what are you doing?
I'm stunned.
That's right, you're stunned. Freddie, what about you?
I'm probably going to grab the babe and try to get him as far away from the portal as possible. I know it's going to take a bit just because I'm a scrawny dude and he's a little bit bigger of a guy. So, but I'm going to try my damnedest because I like the babe. I think he's a good dude.
Yeah, that would be doing something else then. So if you wanted to roll something, I'm sorry, Kevin, I'm taking over.
No, that's fine. No, absolutely.
It would be something like,
this is why we're doing this, right? We want to flesh it out, and you guys have played this a lot more than me. So
yeah. So it'd be like do something else. So athletics. I mean, you could argue probably fighting if Kevin is up for it, like to get the proper leverage to sort of like get him up and
whatever the best stat you think, because then we just build it narratively around that, right?
Yeah, so I think might would probably be the best stat because again, I'm just trying to use it's like a strength check basically.
He's scared, all kinds of weird shit's happening. I'm just going to grab him and try to pull him.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you don't have athletics, you can still roll it as athletics, like narratively. You just don't get any bonuses for it.
Don't get any bonus. Exactly. Oh, I got 2 6s, baby. Holy smokes.
All right. So I think Jesse can still hear. So I got a 6 total for my shooting.
Okay. And
so you get for your spell.
Higgins got a 5.
Okay, so I succeeded with just a straight yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
the DL was my roll, or the DL was the lowest roll. So then you do this.
Yeah, they're compared. Yep, so if he was just standing by the door, he doesn't have any cover or anything like that. So it would be a succeed by 1. So it would be just a straight yes. So he takes 1 harm.
Okay.
I guess
shooting him would be
health,
right? Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, if you're shooting
him. Freddie got a 6, so I'm assuming like he shoulders, like Vinny, kind of like crouches down, takes a firing pose, and like Freddie comes behind him, kind of like levers the babe up, like grabs both of his arms, starts dragging him towards the door. And Joe is stunned, so he doesn't do anything.
Exactly. Okay, so that's the first frame, right?
Correct.
Or is the whole combat's not 1 frame? It's action.
Correct. We would action after action. Yep.
Okay.
It's like rolling for initiative. Everybody does their action, and then everybody does. Pick another action on your next turn.
Sounds good. Okay. So what happens is Joe's just 1 round or just 1 frame, right? We said
1 frame. Yep. So he can act this turn.
So the next time, Joe looks like he's shaking his head and coming back around. Frederick's grabbed the babe, is dragging him away towards the door. Vinny has shot Higgins, kind of gets distracted. He takes a hit, goes forward a bit. Then all of a sudden, the weird big fat pale thing with no head looks like it kind of focuses on Higgins, and Higgins is shouting at it, kind of pleading that, he's done all he could. He's devoted his life and many years of study to harvesting souls. It's his time to become the high priest, and he doesn't start. So once Vinny hits Higgins with the shot, the vortex kind of stops spinning as quickly, and the thing kind of looks like it's wavering in and out. But Higgins is shouting at it, no, you owe me. I've devoted myself to you. It's my time. It's, don't belittle my efforts. And then he's, continues with casting the spell where it kind of stopped where Vinny shot him. So next frame.
Do you want us to? So if the spell started to take effect and that the thing is there, do you want us to make another psyche roll before we continue?
Well, no, because I think the psyche roll was when you first saw it. Whether it was.
Well, so we didn't make another psyche roll because I cut you off. So we made one when he yelled and everybody passed out.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, let's drop into frames.
Oh,
and then the spell doesn't happen unless.
Yeah, we did roll it, but you started talking about something else.
Because that made more narrative sense. Okay.
So maybe the spell started, right? So like maybe it started to swirl, like as he started to chant, he gets popped and then it interrupts it.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe the thing's not, maybe he's yelling because maybe he has a connection to it. So he's yelling and like doubling down, trying to cast again.
Because originally, I think maybe let's do it narratively that did the spell, you did the psyche check. Then you're all like, what's this fucking guy doing? And you're focusing on him and you're not noticing this thing coming out. So that frame gives you the action of Joe freezing, grab the babe, do that. So maybe this one, depending on how the rolls go with Higgins casting spell, whatever actions you do, then we'll do maybe a psyche afterwards because we'll see how well the spell goes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing, I think.
Shoot at him?
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, what are you going to do?
I think Joe is going to use the momentum of Frederick's push, and he's kind of stammered out of it a little bit and seen the urgency of what's going on, and he's gone to some boxing matches before, so he's seen how they do it. So he'll kind of line them up and give like that old timey fists and like try to throw a punch at him.
Okay, and what's Frederick going to do?
Now is Higgins in front of the door? Where is he at now?
He locked the door, and then next to the door is where the portal was, the vortex was going. So he shifted down in front of where this is because he's talking to the portal and casting the spell. So he's away from the door. Okay.
Yeah, I think that while all this is kind of happening, Frederick is going to try to, it's probably not going to be successful, but I think he's going to try to actually, because I was going away from the portal, so now it would be kind of stupid to go take him towards the door now.
Well, it's four-walled room. The table's in the middle. The babe was at one end of the table.
Yep.
So the vortex thingy's on one of the long walls. There's another one. So you could go around the other, you don't have to go that way. He was at one end of the table. So you're either closer to the door or you drag him around the other way. You don't have to sneak by Higgins to get to the door.
Okay. I think I'll try to do that since everything's just kind of going crazy and maybe they're not paying as much as attention to me and the babe, even though it's hard to, a little wiry guy and dragging a big dude around. But I think with all that's going down, I think he's going to try to get him out the door.
Okay. And Higgins is going to continue with casting the spell. All right, John.
I got a 7.
Jesus Christ. Higgins rolled a 4.
Oof.
So that's
yes,
more than one. Because then now you're the DL because you won. So this is no and something negative. Okay, what about Joe?
You muted again.
No, I'm not. I got a 6.
And his is against.
It's all against the same numbers.
It would be against John's then because John set the DL.
Against Higgins. We each compare individually.
Yeah. I got you. Okay. So if if mine is a no and something negative against John, then do I do a no and something against Jesse also?
So with the six, so I think because we haven't done enough and we don't really pay attention when Todd does it. So because I got a yes end, the end typically in combat would be an extra damage. So
Okay.
I'd hit him for 2 points of damage.
Uh-huh.
And then Jesse, if he also got a yes and could just right in the head.
Well, I actually was thinking you said he was standing in front of the portal, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, yeah, he's
yes,
standing
yeah,
in front of the
push him
portal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking if I smack him like with a half-hearted attempt, but it like kind of throws him off balance and he like falls backwards into the portal, or at least near the portal.
Okay, that sounds good. Now I understand it, John. I was thinking of it the wrong way. That makes perfect sense now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What did Frederick get?
I got a 5.
Okay, so that would be against me, and that was
well, so that one's not compared to the magic roll because he's doing something.
That would just be a DL then.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be difficult, we'd say, because you're trying to drag the babe. So you got a 5. Difficult is a 4. So
so just a straight yes.
Nailed it precisely because you nailed it precisely. Okay.
Yeah.
So this actually, so for Vinny and Joe, this works out good. So you hear Higgins, almost fighting with himself and fighting with this thing in there, saying that he's worked hard, he's done what he's been told. He wants to be the high priest. He struggled, so he gets winged again by Vinny's shot and kind of gets spun a little bit. So that would health. Can you break the damage up across 2 stats?
So if he only had 2 health and I dinged him for 1 and then 1 again, it would go to the next thing that made sense. So maybe his might then.
Yeah. Okay. So health is at 0. Might is now at 1 for Higgins, and so he gets hit. He spins a bit, and then Joe comes and gives him the old Irish punch and punches him. So the spell went long enough that form thingy got a bit more substantial. So you're not going to chuck him directly into the portal, but what you are going to do is chuck him into this big, fat, pale, gross thing with no head and mouth hands, and it wraps its arms around Higgins, and you can hear Higgins screaming, "No, no, no! It's not supposed to be this way." And while this thing has its hands wrapped around him, it's almost like you can see the body start to break down, almost like decaying in its hand. So it's gone through like every stage of life. The old, I'm trying to think, was it Raiders of the Lost Ark? Hair grows really long and it all starts whatever. So it goes through all that, and then gets absorbed into this thing there. Through once the body goes through all that, it starts breaking down, and then you can see it getting sucked in, like pieces of it start breaking apart and getting sucked into the hands.
There's a horrible slurping noise.
Yeah, exactly right. So while it's doing that, let's do another psyche roll. But while that happens, this thing kind of looks like not really drifting, but it almost looks like it's backing in towards the portal while you guys are doing your psyche roll, staring at it. And that's a DL4, we said, right? For psyche.
So the suggested chart in the book is 2 for body, 4 for like say a deep one or a ghoul.
Oh, we're going that way. Okay, gotcha.
Right. So the DL for like weird shit. So seeing your friend get murdered, 5, being teleported to another location, 7. So you're somewhere in that scale, right? It's obviously more than 2. Could be 4, 5, 6.
Let me roll.
I mean, it could be a 7. I mean, I don't.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll leave it up to the dice. So that would be a 5.
Makes sense.
Yeah, 5, because we said 4, 5, 6.
Okay. I rolled a 5. So I got a yes, but.
Yes, but.
I rolled a 2, so that's a no and.
No and.
Ooh, no end. So you are unsettled, sir.
Yep.
I got
And you get a roll on a chart too.
Let me pull it up.
Yes. GM rolls on the shock table, and you gain a trauma symptom.
2d6.
Yep.
That's a 3.
You are
Ooh,
holding it together.
Holding it
Joe.
together. Yeah. Though unsettled. I mean, to be fair, I did just see a guy age 70 years in front of me and then be
And they get absorbed piece by piece.
The noises are the worst.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's like somebody slurping on soup. Nobody likes
Right.
it.
What did Frederick get?
I got a 3.
Nope.
That's
So also a no but or no end, right?
Yep. So let me roll on that table again.
Yep. You are unsettled.
Well, duh.
Christ, 5.
5 is paralysis, frozen in place. So we were both essentially stunned for a round.
Nice.
So Frederick's walking back, and all of a sudden he's got the babe, and then he just stops and freezes near the door.
Yeah. Dear
Um,
Lord.
okay, so that frame. So I thought Vinny did good on that one. But you had a bot. That's right.
Yeah. I got my action off, and then we rolled psyche, and then I'm like, oh.
Okay. And then Joe's sorted also.
Yep. He's holding it together.
Okay.
Yep.
So everybody's kind of frozen staring at it, and this thing in front of the portal still keeps kind of drifting back. It doesn't take any action towards you. I was going to say it doesn't really look at you, but it can't really look at you. It doesn't have eyes. But, you just kind of see it drifting back in. And for this frame, let's say it disappears into the portal, and then the swirling brick portal starts to slow down a bit, but it's not completely stopped now, but it's slowed down a bit, and it looks like the wall is kind of turning back into brick. And that thing that was there is now gone. So next frame, Frederick and Vinny should be able to come out of there, right? Okay.
Yep.
So next frame is you still see kind of a little bit of the vortex. It's slowing down, and it's kind of coming back to the wall. And while Frederick's pulling the babe kind of shakes and wakes up and looks up at Frederick and goes, "Doc, what are you doing? Why are you dragging me across the floor?" And he kind of shakes his head a bit very slowly and says, "Oh, I haven't been this hungover since I was about 16. So we're still kind of in frames, right? Because there's still a little bit of action going on. So I'll leave it up to you guys to what you want to do now.
Not really. I mean, frames is more of a combat
Oh, is
thing.
it combat?
So if we're
Okay.
out of combat,
So we're leaving
kind
it if there's no combat there, we'll say it's out of frame then. Okay.
Yeah, sort of back to narrative time then.
Okay, so while you guys are looking, the babe shouts, he wakes up. He wonders why the doc's dragging him across the floor. Says he's got a horrendous headache. The portal kind of stops spinning, and now it just goes back to a brick wall. While you look around, the regulars that were kind of in front of the chairs, in front of that wall, have all disappeared. And obviously Higgins is gone now also.
Yeah, Vinny quickly looks down at his hand at the gun and sticks the gun in his fucking pocket real fast so nobody sees that he's got a gun.
Joe kind of put his hand up against the wall. almost longingly. Like I missed out on such an opportunity.
And Frederick will be like, "Oh, babe, you've gone and done it again. You've drank and ate yourself into a stupor. I had to pick you up. There's a lot of rowdiness that's happening here. I think we need to get you somewhere safe where you can just rest up and get ready for your trip out."
So when Frederick says that, the babe will shout, Look, Doc, looks like you're going to need that wheelbarrow, like we said last night, to get me to the train. I can't be missing that train. And Vinny will kind of look down at his watch, and it will seem like you spent a few hours in there having a good time and partying, but obviously it's a lot later than you thought it would be. So instead of it being, 4 a.m. like you were expecting, late night partying after hours, and it looks like it's a bit further on, maybe about 7 o'clock in the morning. And the Babe's train leaves at 8:30, heading up out of Virginia.
Oh, shit. We gotta go, guys. We gotta get to the train. It's we partied through the night. Did anybody see where Higgins went? He was here just a minute ago.
There'll be a look of like furrowed brow from Joe, but he won't actually say anything.
Do you? You know what? I will make a fast talk. That feels like that should be a fast talk roll. I got a 7. Son of a bitch! He must have fucking left.
He must have went ahead of us, knowing that we'd be here all night. He's a smart one, getting that rest.
Yeah, maybe he'll meet us at the train.
The Babe will say, "I don't really care. Just get me to the train, because if anything happens, it's not Higgins' name. It's going to be in the newspaper. It's going to be mine."
So,
right.
So Vinny will get under his other, like we're, sort of fireman carry, not fireman carry, but like, he's got a shoulder over each one of us, arm over each one of our shoulders. We'll kind of like walk him out.
So while you're walking out, obviously the thoughts in the back of your mind are, obviously you've got Babe Ruth, you've got to get him to the train station. The first kind of thoughts in Vinny's minds are, okay, all kinds of weird shit happened. I'm going to speak easy with gambling. Probably be a good idea to make ourselves scarce from this place. Enough stuff's going on. I don't want to get pinched for, from the, FBI coming around and doing a swoop on a gin joint while I'm here. Joe kind of looks around and thinks, yeah, it probably wouldn't be good for me if I get picked up in a place like this. But there's also that part of his mind that's thinking, I just saw some weird shit that I never ever thought I would see. So everything I've been focused on, actually, there's something to it. Who cares what Houdini says? There's something out there. There's something to this, right? And he's holding the crystal because he saw what it did. And Frederick, I guess maybe Frederick's dragging the Babe along, thinking, okay, this guy gets himself into trouble a lot. He does need a lot of help. So maybe if Frederick's thinking, if I'm not completely rooted to one place, I may be able to lend some advice to the baseball player while we're heading up back to New York to get him back into health.
Mm-hmm.
So while you guys are dragging out to the train station, is there anything you want to say or any idea about what you want to do? Obviously, getting the Babe to the train station. But is there anything else you want to think about over and above that once you get them chucked on the train?
Actually, yeah. While we're bringing them through, I'll actually, and of course, Carlisle, the driver, is taking us over.
Okay.
I'll just say, yes, we. I do believe that Higgins had stepped out early. He said that he was going to grab an early train back up, and that he would be meeting you in town. But he did, and I'll pull out some of the cash that Higgins had given me to give to the MC that I didn't give to the MC.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he said that you could take this to take care of any of the amenities on the train that you would require.
I would normally say it's the hair of the dog that bit you, but I think I'm just going to go find somewhere to sleep and crash out and get some sleep. But
yeah, I believe that some orange juice might be in the in your future.
Some vitamins. That sounds good.
That's my line.
So the babe will kind of look over to Vinny and say, Vinny, that sandwich is really good. I'll be remembering that for a long time. And I've had quite a bit of fun. Thank you for showing me around. And I'll let those guys know, some of our mutual friends back up in New York, what a good fella you are, and how much fun you showed me when I hit the town.
Oh, yeah, I'd appreciate that. Yeah, I'm glad that we got a chance to, like, you're the babe. He's like, I don't know.
He'll look over and say, make sure you save that baseball. That'll be your retirement fund, maybe to help you go legit one day. And winks at you.
I'll keep this forever.
And then Frederick,
shit, I've already lost it.
You hit it over a fence and a big dog chewed on it, right? What about Frederick?
I think that Frederick would try to talk the babe into going with him, just to make sure that he kind of does things right before getting back to New York and stuff like that, and kind of getting on a good regimen, so then when he gets back to playing ball, that he's in tip-top shape.
So the babe will look over to Frederick and say, that'd be very appreciative, Doc, if you could help me get back to New York. I think the last day or so is taking a bit out of me. Anything we can get back before I get back to the Yankee Stadium, the less trouble I'm going to be in. And then, so Frederick starts walking up the steps of the train with the babe, and the babe starts singing again, but not as loudly as when him and Frederick were marching down the street. But you can hear him singing a little bit under his breath while they get into the train. And we'll do it there. So what happens is Frederick helps Babe get back on the rest of his train trip. There was a bit of delay with this stop in Virginia, and this delay caused a whole bunch of papers all across the country to print obituaries of the Babe in them after his fall in Chattanooga when he was coming through. So this delay in Virginia caused them to print obituaries. So Frederick actually does help Ruth get to New York. What they do afterwards and what Frederick's position after that, we'll leave it up to him. But Frederick helps Ruth get to New York, and without Higgins around using him for nefarious purposes, which I'll explain in a minute, the Babe and the Yankees cement themselves as the most famous team in sports history. The next few years lead to the Murderers Row moniker as the championships start piling up. So what Higgins is he was a high priest of Ugolinak, and he followed the Babe around, and he absorbed all the energy of all of the debauchery that the Babe got into for his god Ugolinak the Defiler, and so that him causing Babe and stirring up the Babe to be a little bit more crazy and party than he normally would, fed into that, which then fed back to his god and him trying to become a high priest. And the people that had passed out, he was just kind of draining their essence from them, their health, and then feeding it back. And obviously, what other person in the world would you rather want to follow for debauchery than Babe Ruth? So he figured that was the best person he could to siphon off that energy for his god.
Makes sense.
Good. You guys have a good time?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that was good. I liked it.
Cool. Yeah, when you went to go mess with the cat or whatever, when you took your break, we were like, well, there's probably Cthulhu in here somewhere, right? Like we gotta be like halfway there.
I was trying to do it. I was going to do some more stuff along the way if it popped up. Like if you guys were a bit hesitant or started fighting or pushing back against Higgins, then I was going to throw a couple things in there.
Yeah.
A zombie.
He didn't give us any reason to not.
And that was the thing. So I tried to do it where, okay, we'll make it a bit magic-y where these people passed out for no weird reason. And then you heard Higgins mumbling. So,
yeah.
But when I wrote this one, I did it where the big lead up to the end, where the big horrible thing, not the other one. Another one I wrote, there is a bit more sprinkled out through that. So that's why I was saying I should try and decide which one to run. I think the other one might take a bit longer, so I figured we would do this one. It would be
so you wrote this then?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Nice.
I didn't know that. I thought you just had stuff you were picking from.
No, it was there was some different kind of categories I wanted to write stuff to. So this one's a Roaring 20s. So I have a couple other ones in there, and then I did a couple other different like time frames or different time. But if we're going to do a Cthulhu one, you've got to do the 20s. You have to do the Roaring 20s. That fits in perfectly. Yeah. So there's this one and a couple other ones I wrote, but this one was a bit quicker, so I figured this would be a good one to do. The other one's a bit longer, but there is a bit more of the mythosy stuff in it. But like you said, no, there wasn't that big fight. There wasn't I'm going away, where then he'd have to round you up with some cultist or anything, or a little rat man or something. So I was trying to think of a way to get it in, but I'm like, well, that'll blow it a bit. I wanted to do it with the big gross thing at the end. So
yeah. Well, Kurt, I know you probably want to go to bed. Jesse and I are going to stay up for like 4 more hours. As far as like the core aspects, as far as like the game play itself, what do you think as far as how that goes?
I think everything went pretty smoothly, actually.
Okay.
I mean, the only hiccup I think was like the whole like going against each other, multiple people going against each other in the fighting, like just trying to get that kind of going was kind of a little slow, but that's just us trying to figure it out and stuff.
But I think to John's point, so Frederick was doing something separately, so he had his own difficulty level to roll against, and then that was the other one. So that's just the breaking that out a bit. So we were kind of jumping into it, and I wanted to get the action going because we hadn't done the stress and the trauma. And I wanted to try to get the psyche rolls. I wanted us to try to do that. So delineating that now, me making a note saying, okay, if these two are going against that guy, then those are the DLs. If another character is doing something completely separately, not interacting with them, then they have their own separate DL. So to me, that makes perfect sense. It's just going through it that first time.
Right. Yeah.
And if it's 2-on-1, it's tougher, right? So like if Joe had been a fighter or someone else who had if you had been a PI or whatever weird thing, and we were both shooting, it would be really tough. But if we both roll really bad, then they can still succeed at the action. The odds are probably would be more in our favor, 2-1. But it is possible, right? Because the dice then tell us what happens. So if narratively the thing starts to open up before we get the action, I think maybe it would have even been 2 psyche rolls before. One for him to start yelling and the babe passes out. And then you look and like when he did that, it started to open up or maybe you roll it into one bigger one then, right? So like it's not so much that the babe passed out, but like the babe passed out. Oh, and by the way, the fucking bricks are swirling. Give me a psyche check. That's, whatever, 5 or 6 or whatever the hell it is. And then we proceed from there. And then, because he essentially got a surprise round for all intents and purposes.
And I think that was, so I didn't want to do, as you said, I didn't want to do the psyche rolls back to back. And that's just the way I played it out wrong is, okay, he cast the spell. And you guys, oh shit, he cast the spell.
Yeah.
And then, oh shit, there's the end of the spell. Stretching it out more makes more sense than doing it back to back. So
and I think that's my bad for stepping on you a little bit. And I was thinking in a more linear, we're like, okay, we made the check because Babe passed out, and now narratively you're saying he's casting the spell and the brick is going. Oh, but no, that was actually part of the other thing, and then that's my fault, right? Because maybe I should have.
Well, I just wanted to start. I was excited. I probably wasn't paying attention because I'm like, oh shit, we can do all these crazy rolls now, all the different stuff. So I was just kind of railroading my way through it. And the reason did the. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think it goes back to Todd's point as we converse in the Discord and all this kind of stuff about how to set up core and like sort of how core runs. So like then when you get into combat, a lot of times what he'll do is pause, reset the scene to like resuck everybody in, and then proceed forward from there.
Yeah.
So, because none of us have really run it all that much, there's a little bit of a hiccup to sort of like get into that that
And
frame.
I did take notes of that frame, and I
Yeah.
actually did. I made like keeper screen of all that stuff, the
Yeah,
DLs,
yeah.
and I did put in there, make sure you stop each frame and reset it. So it was just
Yeah.
me. I'm like
nice. There
rushing
you
through.
go.
I'm like, oh, cool, let's do it. And then I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, we really haven't described what we're going to do for the next frame, or
Yeah.
framing that frame kind of thing. So
Yeah. And sometimes that's hard because you're so used to just go, go, go when it comes to combat and stuff like that. So sometimes it's hard to be like, okay, maybe we should actually put some, some description into what's going on here instead of just going, well, I shoot him. Well, I shoot him.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I shoot him.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, especially where most of us are coming from, like D&D, where all the talk you ever hear, or a lot of the talk you hear about D&D in general, is like, how do I make combat faster? And so, like, we're all just kind of used to like making that part of the game go as fast as possible. Whereas, like, Core actually wants you to kind of like settle into the pocket and just kind of roll that through.
Yeah.
So,
Invest into that part of the narrative, yeah.
exactly.
Because the combat narrative is really no different than the narrative, right? Because the dice are
right.
going to help you tell that story in combat. Because it's not just yes, I hit, no, I missed. It's yes and it's no but. It's a range of things that can happen that can influence the story.
Yeah.
Even to the point where a random bad thing can happen. You get a no but or a yes but or something like that. In combat, you could drop a weapon. You could, be stunned. You could, there's not just the shock table. There's actually a random
Crash your $100,000 drone.
Yeah.
And I think we said before that, a rule set like this makes it easier for people who are newer to it, right? It's, you're not, because a lot of things around established role-playing games is you can either go the 4E route where every single piece of fluff is written in, this weapon, this move, this stuff is all prescribed, or you can go where it's like, okay, well, you get this stuff, make it up yourself. And there are some players who will take that and build that themselves, or some people who like 4E, it's like, okay, well, just tell me this is what I'm going to be, and here's all this cool stuff of, Thunderwave and this and that and all. Then you don't have to think those up yourself. This is a good one because it is pretty straightforward. There are the outs of the yes and no but where you can get the narrative to go along, and people aren't super crunchy where you need stats tables and all that kind of stuff. And I think it helps the stuff flow a lot better, for newer players and players who are more established. Then they can take it like you guys have done, is tweak it and really get into it and twist it into what Todd expects, is getting crazy with it and doing what you want. So, and you're not limited by the role set or this or that. It's your imagination. So
and that's where hacks come from. That's I mean, hacks wouldn't be here if it weren't for like, God, I really like this, but let's cut this and throw that in the trash and just hold this.
Right.
Yep. So
you can use Core to run pretty much anything.
you can.
The hacks come in where like, oh fuck, I need a sanity mechanic, or I need I need this specific thing that mimics this other thing that I want to do, but I can use Core to do it. I just need this little thing.
Yeah. You could literally take Dungeons and Dragons and say, I'm using the core mechanic, and then I'm just setting the world of D&D within it. And you don't have to have like a million things. You could just be like, we can build this story and talk about certain things. And like, of course, like whenever people think about fantasy stuff, they're like, well, we need a million different things. It's like, no, you don't. You could just kind of talk about what you want to do and just go from there and use the mechanics of Core to get you there.
Monster Hunt. A specific type of fantasy in D&D, but yeah, I mean that's
yeah, exactly.
All right, good. I mean, I feel like this. I mean, because we just bullshit until stuff happens, right? So like, this is typically the way we play. It's a lot of checks because it's investigative, which I think is gonna be in the main how COREthulhu is probably going to play. Especially like if you're writing something specifically, like I didn't realize you wrote this. But you're writing it in a sense of like, all right, well, they're probably going to look at the book, so I need they would roll spot, or they would roll occult, or they would roll whatever. So, okay, I just need to set a DL for, occult or awareness or insight or whatever. And then again, the dice are that, narrative that tells us whether or not, Jesse's character has seen a weird fucking portal before. I don't know. You tell me. Where did that happen? Like, what's that story all about? So I feel like it went okay. I didn't mean to step on you at the end.
No, I appreciate it because I fill my head with like, okay, these are the roles, these are the things I need to know, and obviously then I get it caught up saying, oh, this is kind of cool. Don't let me forget this, and then I forget that part. So trust me, I'd rather you guys do that than not, and then sit back and say, oh shit, well we missed this. This could have been really, or we did something. We forgot to do something. I'd rather it be that way, because then that makes it, because the way what you flagged up actually made it more narrative and made more fun than me just blurting it out because I'm like, I forgot to tell John's character to do this or that. I'd rather that shout out get there, because then it makes it better, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So
yeah, and for a playtest, I don't feel quite as bad, right? Because like we're trying to nail things down. Like if we were playing Call of Cthulhu or D&D or whatever, I wouldn't have anything to say, right? Like you run your game how you're going to run your game.
Whatever we play, if there's something glaring, shout it out. Trust me, I'm not going to take it personally, because as you said, or as I said, there's always that one thing in your head that you're going to miss. You can prepare as much as you want, and I'll end up being flighty because something will pop into my head, and I'll be like, don't let me forget this. And then I'll forget the other thing I'm supposed to do, which is critical to the way the game's going. So I'm quite happy if someone goes, oh, dude, you forgot to do that. I'm fine with that.
I feel like yours went tighter than mine, but I don't run a lot. So like I'm never comfortable actually doing it. So like not having to like worry about all of the story and all the other things, like it's easier for me to be like, oh, yeah. In this instance, we should probably do, XYZ, because I'm only really paying attention to what's happening, what's being generated, as opposed to like, okay, I'm responsible for all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit easier for me to like keep track as a player, I guess, like be in the story and be in the narrative, but also be, sort of here top looking down to kind of be assessing as we're playing. I don't know. It felt like it was easier.
It's easier to play for you, because you've said it before. You'd rather play than run. So,
and we've played it for fucking ever. I mean, the Day Trippers campaign is 4 years old, so like we've played tons of core.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, have we beat this to death then?
Thank you very much. No, I'm glad. I hope you guys had a good time.
Cool. Really thanks for running. Good. And that was a super fun scenario. You should maybe think about putting that up on the Miskatonic repository.
I agree. That was good.
I have to go see if I still have an account or if I have to create a new one.
Look. Yeah, I think that'd be a cool scenario. You got your GM notes and you set your story. I mean, you obviously did the research, so like, yeah, that would be cool. I think you should totally do it. And I know they have like pre-formatted.
Yeah, you put stuff in.
Yeah. So it should be easy enough to get it all ready for.
When I looked at it before, it was pretty straightforward. I just have to remember if I still have what my account is, or I'll just create a new one.
Yeah, because they've got art assets and everything that you can use.
Cool. Will do.
Cool. Sweet.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Yep. Thank you for running. Thanks you guys for playing. Thanks to everybody for coming in and checking this out as we sort of wend our way through playtesting COREthulhu. Because we probably have at least one more, but I feel like we're probably pretty close at this point to really locking it down. There wasn't anything that was really glaring. I don't feel like that would be like, shit, we need to change, X, Y, or Z. So cool. Ratings and reviews on iTunes or whatever your podcatcher of choice is amazing. We thank you if you do that. There's links in the show notes for coffee, for Core Micro, which you can get. It's up on drive-thru as pay what you want. You can also find Monster Hunt, which is Jesse's hack. You can also find Kurt's hack, called.
Welcome to the WWA.
There you go, because I was going to get it wrong.
Thanks,
so
Jesse.
Somebody has it. You'll be able to find Kevin's scenario on the Miskatonic repository, maybe soon?
Give me some time. I got to remember my password.
Yeah, coffee's for sale. It's 10% off your order if you use code LEGENDS10. Shipping is always free. I have just dumped my last bag, so I'm going to be putting an order in probably over the weekend. Thanks for checking us out, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.